Hello everyone, welcome to What If Deku Was Engaged to Lady Nagant, Mirko and Ryukyu movie. Before we start, please go support RobertFanfics for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistaken characters' gender, but of course Deku is a male. Prologue. Before starting this new fic, I'm going to give some clarifications before starting. So that you don't get confused and don't think that it's a copy of the original, but rather that this takes a different direction and style. I want to clarify here that all this starts after the Uges, which became news about the Nomu's fight against the teachers and students of the A-class hero course. In addition to Izuku perfectly mastering the floating quirk, which was the first to be unlocked. He still does not communicate with the bearers of the Ofa. Bakugo will be the idiot who still hates him, but even better friend in this story would be Shinso, who met in high school. All Might's relationship is like father and son, much more so than with Hisashi. In this story Hisashi and Inko are together. Inko is a housewife, but from time to time she goes out to do hero work because she is not very well known. She has a lot of free time. Hisashi, for his part, is a top 20 hero, ranking 15th, which gives him a good source of income for himself and his family. Dear Hisashi will be a good father, he won't be like I do with the rest of my stories where he's a bastard. Dear Izuku remains the same as in the canon. Izumi is almost the same as her brother, but she has more confidence in herself, being almost a complete mine. The heroines remain the same, only here Ryukyu is 26, Mirko is the same height as Izuku, and she is 27, and Lady Nagant does not change anything about her, being 27 like Mirko. Here, Lady Nagant was luckily not charged by the Heroes Association as a murderer. She managed to escape unconscious thanks to the fact that she had a recorder with her, and most are persuaded the judges to send the president of the Public Security Association to prison. They have known each other for years because they are almost in the same class. Mirko is still a lonely heroine, but she always stops by the Ryukyu agency to hang out. Lady Nagant, for her part, is also a lonely heroine, but secretly, she likes the company of her friends. There will be an association called the Court here, where heroes and influential families are present. The leader of the Girl Association was created by Endeavor when she had just given birth to her first child. So that he and others can have strong children with incredible quirks, having assured futures as heroes. Because after the death of his first son, he not only lost one of his children, but also a great quirk that disappeared with him. Well, without further ado, let's get started, but if you have any questions, you can ask me. Now, let's go. What? Prologue. We can see a quartet of green-haired people in a hospital. Being two children who were playing with their toys. The boy was holding an All Might toy, and the girl was holding a Midnight Heroine toy. Inko looked at them with a smile, and Hisashi had a lost look, looking at a fly, which was in the spotlight of the room. At that moment the older green-haired man felt like his cell phone was being toasted. Hisashi. Hello, who is it? If you answer like that, it's because you're not on duty, right? Hisashi. Endeavor, what's going on? Endeavor. I'm just calling because you know we have to talk about this today. Your kids are already 5 years old, you should know that by now. Hisashi. Yes, I know, but I'm waiting for the doctor's results, it takes a century. Endeavor. I know, but when you're done, I want you to come right away, is that clear? Hisashi. Okay, I have the results, I'll leave the kids with a babysitter and I'm on my way. Endeavor. I hope so. Cutting the call so the older green-haired man could let out a deep sigh. I knew Enji could be very heavy on those topics and more so on commitment. Inko. Don't tell me, Enji, that he wants to know the result now. Hisashi. Latinist. Inko. Love, I know we've already discussed this, but I'm doubting if this is the best for our children. Watching how her little ones were laughing while bumping their toys together. The truth is, I didn't know what could happen if her little ones were with someone who could hurt them. The news along with her dramatic novels already gave her an idea of what could happen if the couple she was with. Hisashi. You don't have to worry, love. If something bad happens, you know better than to say that I'm going to intervene. I'm not going to leave my children with crazy people. Placing his hand on Inko's to calm her down, she just smiled. She knew well that her husband loved his children as much as she did to prevent them from being hurt. The Midoriya family, please. This was said by a doctor who left his office to look for the aforementioned family. Hisashi. Here we are, doc. Standing up next to his wife and getting the children to stop playing to pay attention. Doctor. Please come in, I have your results. Stepping aside to let everyone in and him behind them. Once everyone had taken their seats, the doctor stood in front of everyone with a folder of papers in his hands. Doctor. Good morning, gentleman Midoriya. First of all, I inform you that there are two pieces of news, one good and one bad. This had left the parents in a somewhat awkward silence, while the children continued playing without paying attention. Hisashi. Tell us the good doc. Doctor? Well, the good news is that your daughter has a pyrokinesis quirk, a combination of both of your quirks. The little girl who had heard that just jumped out of her chair and started jumping around with joy. Being supported by her brother who was happy for her. Inko. Come on daughter, calm down, don't make too much noise, we're in a hospital. Hisashi. If that's the good one, what's the bad one, doc? Doctor, the bad news is that your son is delayed sir. Inko. What kind of delay? Doc. Look, showing some x-rays of Izuku's feet, as you can see here, the child does not have a small dysfunction in the foot, which is rarely seen in children. Hisashi. And how bad is that, doc? Doctor. Well, this could cause a delay in the manifestation of the quirk, but the age is not specified, so at any time your son could appear. This had left the Midoriya with a somewhat dissatisfied attitude. Despite knowing this, they know better than anyone that society can be very ignorant and that they will be treated as just another of the many quirks who suffer discrimination. But that doesn't matter at all. They will protect their child from anyone who wants to harm him. Hisashi. Thank you very much doctor, we're leaving. Inko. Come on kids, time to go home. Izuku Izumi. You're a mom. Leaving the office, he began to walk through the hospital corridors. Hisashi. Love, do you want to accompany me to Enji's agency? Inko. Okay, at least let me see a babysitter for the kids, okay? Hisashi. Of course, we also have to dress formally, we can't just go to Enji's agency like that. Inko. You're right, let's go home first. Change of scene. Now we can see how both Midoriya parents, already in formal suits, arrived at the Endeavor agency in their vehicle. Once there, they were greeted by a receptionist who asked for their names. Giving them the name of civilians and heroes. Once he gave them the go-ahead, they entered the place to head for the elevator. To start heading to the 50th floor, where the room where Endeavor held gala meetings was. While both parents were waiting to arrive at the apartment, the green-haired girl had begun to speak. Inko. Love, I know this is for the good of our children, but is it really necessary to do this? Hisashi. I know you're worried, love, but we're doing this for both of our futures. Remember that as heroes, anything can happen to us. Inko. I know that very well, but what if the one who touches someone like Hisashi. Enji. Inko. Well, I know what he did to his wife, in the end I found out that they're resolved and they are fine, but I'm afraid something similar will happen to them. Hisashi. Listen love, if anything happens, I'll tell you who compromised them. Taking her hand to smile at her, earning a smile from her. At some point, Inko was right and it was something Hisashi shared. At the same time the elevator had opened, revealing the number 2 hero Endeavor. Who just looked at the green-haired duo holding hands in a very cheesy way for him. Enji. I'm glad you came and I'm sorry I interrupted your moment. Hisashi. It's nothing. Somewhat embarrassed to be caught like that with his wife. Enji. Well, Inko, this topic will be discussed by me and Hisashi. Inko. I think Enji should also be present, it's my children you're going to compromise. I'm talking about a serious mindset looking at the hero. Maybe Enji might scare her a little, but for her children, she would be able to face all for one if necessary. Hisashi. Come on, calming love, I can take care of it, I assure you it will be fine. Enji. You can trust that, if you want you can wait for the bar over there. Showing to his right the area where the bar was with some heroes from his agency and other people who came for the same reason as them. Inko. It's okay, I trust you, honey. Heading to the bar, leaving the duo of parents. Enji. Well, let's go to my office, we can talk there calmly. Hisashi. It's okay. They both headed to the hero's office, making the first sit in his desk chair and the green-haired man on the other side. Enji. Well, do you have them? Hisashi. Yes, here are my children's folders. Giving the hero the 2 folders of his children to the hero who took it and looked at the names. Enji. Tell me something Hisashi, before I see the files myself, is there anything you want to tell me ahead of time? Hisashi. Well it is, my son Izuku apparently has a small delay in his little toe, which could cause his quirk to have a delay in appearing. Enji. I see, I'm glad you're honest with me, first I'm going to read your daughter, okay? Hisashi. It's okay. It took the hero about 3 minutes to read everything about Izumi and her quirk. Making the green-haired boy even more nervous since he was now doubting whether to get his little girl engaged. Enji. I've finished reading and let me tell you that your daughter really has a great quirk and I think I have the candidate for her. Hisashi. So fast. And who is it? Enji. It will be with my youngest son. Hisashi's eyes almost fell out from being so wide open from the surprise he had just received. Hisashi. Purate from the verb pure. What do you mean your son? Enji. Stop talking like that, my son will be your fiancé, you're the same age, when you turn 12 we'll tell you about this. Hisashi. But first of all, Enji, if anything happens to my daughter with your son, don't doubt that I will cancel the engagement. Looking seriously at the hero who does the same in the same way. Inside he was dying of fear, but for his daughter he would give his life, especially if it was a madman like Enji. Enji. I know very well that you, like a few others, are aware of what happened with Ray, and that's fine, I accept it, but I assure you that my son will not do anything to your daughter, and I will even agree to you cancelling the engagement. Hisashi. I'm glad we agree. Enji. Well, now that we're family, how about we celebrate? Taking out from under his desk about 2 cans of beer. Hisashi. Do you have any beers under your table? Taking the can to open it. Enji. I have them to relieve the stress that being here causes me, sometimes it's hard being in charge of this agency. Hisashi. I see. Enji. Anyway, let's toast to our family union. Hisashi. Of course, cheers. Blinking his can with the Enji can and taking a swig to finish it. Enji. Wow, you were really thirsty. Hisashi. After that pressure I needed something, but what would happen to my son? Enji. Well, the situation will be seen once I manage to awaken his quirk, don't be so offended Hisashi, but it doesn't meet what we need in our organization. Hisashi. I see, at least that's nice to know. Hisashi's mind. At least Izuku will be calm, I hope he doesn't wake up with his quirk, he will be able to save himself from this. At that moment the door had been knocked, revealing a white werewolf woman. Secretary. Excuse me sir, Mrs. Tatsuma, Mrs. Tatsumi and Mrs. Usagiyama are here to speak with you. Enji. Okay, let them pass, sorry Hisashi, but we have this issue here, I have another matter to attend to. Hisashi. Okay, see you later. Turning around to head for the office exit, he let the 3 women and their daughters pass. Being teenagers of 12 and 13 years old more or less. Hisashi knew well which were the 3 families that were present, they are very influential due to their economic status and being among the top 10 heroines currently. Hisashi's mind. I hope nothing bad comes out of this, but I feel bad for those girls, I just hope they get someone good or feel sorry for the unfortunate people they end up with. Leaving the office to pick up his wife and return home. Time skip 11 years later. Now we can see a beach like a green-haired 16-year-old running with blue sportswear on. Izuku. Come on Shinso, what's going on? Do you want to be in the hero class like this? Seeing behind him how there was an already tired Shinso with his black sportswear. Shinso. Don't buck with me, I'm not in the same condition as you. Izuku. That's what happens when you trust your quirk too much. I told you that you should train with me, but you were always lazy. The purple-haired man just stood still and tried to catch his breath. Making Izuku stop so as not to leave him alone. Izuku. Ever since the sports festival was announced, you've been asking me for help training, but it looks like this is your first time training like this. Shinso. I had already thought about not being able to attend, but now that the sports festival is near, it's my chance. Izuku. You should have at least trained a little when we were in high school, don't you think? Shinso. Yes well, I had my reasons. Izuku. Sleeping in class and staying up late reading manga are no excuses. Shinso. Well, no more, stop blaming me. Izuku. Okay Aizawa too, let's go now, we're almost there, we're barely halfway there. Turning around to run again. Shinso. Does he want to kill me? End of the prologue. Chapter 1. What am I what? Chapter 1. At the Midoriya residence, a duo of green-haired brothers could be seen about to walk out the door of their home. Having their parents staring at them with big smiles on their faces. Izuku. Okay, that's it, ready Izumi. Watching his sister tying her shoes. Izumi. Yes, today is the day. Inko. Good luck my loves, we'll be supporting you from here. Hisashi. I would have liked to get places, but I don't want to leave his mother alone watching everything. The fire hero knew he could get in to see everything for free, but his wife, not being as well known as others, had to pay more and tickets to the sports festival weren't cheap at all. Izuku. We know dad, at least we know they'll be here. Izumi. We're going to go far, I promise. Opening the door and then looking at his brother. Izuku. We're leaving now. Inko. Good luck kids, I love you. Hisashi. Don't cause too much trouble. Izumi. Goodbye. Izuku. See you later. Closing the door behind them to begin walking through the departmental area. Izumi. I hope I can get past the first round, I'm really looking forward to it. Jumping a little and causing a slight laugh in his brother. Izuku. Relax Izumi, remember you can summon bad luck if you say it out loud. Izumi. Okay knowing, I just hope you don't faint from being the center of attention of everyone there. Izuku. Don't bother me with that, you want. Somewhat blushing at having an image of many people watching him. Izumi. Gigi. While both brothers were heading to the festival, their parents were getting things organized so they could see their children. Inko. I hope you are well. Moving some pillows that were on the couch to be more comfortable. Hisashi. Calm down love, Izuku will be fine, after all he is very smart, although I doubt Izumi will listen to him, you know how she is. Laughing because she knows her daughter can be somewhat stubborn and restless. Inko. By the way dear, Enji called me and told me that ours has already selected his wives. Hisashi. Ah, I hope this day would never come. Touching his forehead with some annoyance, when Izuku's record was updated, it was only a matter of time before Enji found out. And even more so if it's the UA hero course, right where your child is. Izumi already knew all this since they spoke to her, and they forbade her from saying anything to her brother or anyone else. Hisashi. I hope I get a chance to talk to Izuku before Enji bothers me with that. Inko. Let's just hope their wives aren't crazy. Hisashi. Don't worry, I made it clear to Enji a long time ago, if his son or my son's wives dared to do anything, I myself would renounce that engagement without hesitation. Inko. Thank you, love. Change of scene. Now we can see the large stadium where the sports festival would take place. It was completely packed with people screaming with excitement as President Mick welcomed the festival's first year. And Mavhamas with the food stalls and games that were outside the big stadium. Also telling how many heroes were around. Among many of them, a very peculiar duo of heroines could be seen. Which were the ones that unintentionally attracted the most attention. But no one approached them except for children who knew nothing of their murderous instincts. They were the dragon heroine Ryukyu, the current number 9 heroine in the top of heroes, and Lady Nagant, the current number 11 heroine in the top. Right now they were both taking pictures with some children who were looking at the camera. Girl. Thank you very much Miss Ryukyu and Lady Nagant. Smiling at the heroine who answered him in the same way. Ryukyu. Daigual Manera. Lady Nagant just retracted her rifle and watched as the children walked away laughing with their parents who took photos of them with the heroines. Lady Nagant. Where is the noisy rabbit? Looking everywhere to try to find her almost lifelong friend. Ryukyu. She's not coming, she said she would rather be out looking for bad guys than weaklings. Lady Nagant. Typical of her, but she knows that sooner or later she'll have to meet him, right? That earned her a sigh from the blonde who touched her forehead. Ryukyu. Yes, I know, according to what they told me, that boy is called Izuku Midoriya, he is Hisashi the 15th hero, better known as Firefox. Lady Nagant. According to what I know, she goes to the first year hero class, being the class that fought against the villains. Entering the stadium and starting to look for their spots among one of the private seats they were assigned as heroes of the top. Ryukyu. I don't like the idea of being married to someone younger, but I'm sure he's forced to be like us. Lady Nagant. I hope that's the idea, because if not, I have a bullet waiting for him. She said it angrily because of that last thing she thought would be possible. She thought she would be like one of those spoiled boys who chooses whoever he wants as wives. And if she thought about what the freckled man was like, there's no doubt she wouldn't make it out of this stadium alive. Ryukyu. I just hope to have a good impression, because remember that we all have to agree to annul the marriage. Lady Nagant. Let us see first and then judge. Arriving at the private room for the two of them, seeing how right now all the students from all the first year courses were in the middle of the arena. With Midnight's appearance in front of everyone, earning many glances from the entire male audience, as well as from the students who blushed profusely. Even some shouting and whistling. Ryukyu. Are you really not ashamed of doing it in front of so many pubescent kids? Lady Nagant. More importantly, let's see where he might be. Ryukyu. What was he like? Looking at each of the students who were listening to the words of the heroine plus 18. Which was saying that the representative Bakugo Katsuki of Class A had to give a few words of encouragement in front of everyone. Lady Nagant. According to what they sent me, he is a green-haired boy with freckles. I promised to be number 1. These were Bakugo's words along with a lot of boos from all the students who called him arrogant and conceited. Even making people think that their entire class was the same. But it seems he didn't care and continued his walk until he was back with his people who also called him. Falling on the deaf ears of the Policiniso who did not pay attention. Ryukyu. Did he really say that? Lady Nagant. All he achieved was to condemn himself and his entire class. Ryukyu. Wow, it reminds me of Rumi in his academy days, he was always challenging whoever was in front of him. The image of 16-year-old Mirko, facing her third-year senpais, came to mind. In the sand. Everyone was now paying attention to how the heroine Midnight was explaining the first test that was about to be given. Which would be an obstacle course where everyone would have to go through several things, but they were forbidden from hurting others. Although they had the advantage of using their quirks to try to gain the advantage that could serve them in the race. Once everyone heard the rules, they headed to the door where the exit would be. And our green-haired Yuke was in front of her with many students around who were as nervous as he was. Deku-kun. Turning around to see what it was about her brunette and blushing-cheeked friend Uraraka. Izuku. Uraraka-san. Smiling as she saw her friend arrive with him. Uraraka. Good luck, I hope to see you in the next phase. He said it, raising his fist with a smile to the green-haired boy. He responded in kind with a smile and a fist bump. Izuku. I hope I can get through at least this one. Uraraka just nodded and laughed a little at that, turning around to go take a seat. At that moment the door began to open slightly. Making Izuku prepare like everyone else. But everything was not as I thought. Since all the students had crowded at the exit. Starting a fight of pushing and shouting between everyone to get out, although it was impossible. A duo of heroines who watched everything from their private room. They had a big drop of sweat on the back of their necks as they watched the start of the first test. Lady Nagant. What a first impression. He said this when he saw how others decided to stay behind to avoid the large march at the exit. Ryukyu. Well, it's normal for many if you want to take first place, and even more so if they are first years who have no experience like that. At that moment they could see how a large layer of icy smoke appeared, along with ice on the ground that took all the students by surprise. Present Mick. Incredible, young Todoroki from the hero class completely froze the area and is now in the lead. The cameras focused on the exit to see how the two-tone had taken the lead and everyone else behind with their feet frozen. Ryukyu. With which Endeavor's son made his move. Lady Nagant. It was very clever of her, but I think it lasted too long. Seeing how now those in Class A have freed themselves and started going for the two-color. On the run. Everyone started to leave the ice to start running, some using their quirk and others using only their natural strength. In the case of the green-haired duo, it was both cases. Izumi used her fire to melt the ice, and Izuku was a different case, since luckily he was not trapped by the ice. But starting to get off the ice like the others who made it. Izuku's mind. It was to be expected from Todoroki-san to use his ice, but why? Asking himself as he remembered how the bicolor had challenged him in the waiting room. It was the cry of his fellow miner who was sent flying a few meters back. And Midoriya could see what the entrance exam robots were that were blocking his way. Izuku's mind. It was to be expected, it wouldn't be as easy as I thought. Getting ready in case you have to use one for all. But not being able to act as he wanted when he saw how one of the robots had fallen due to being frozen by Todoroki. In addition to falling on top of Kirishima and a boy named Tetsutetsu who had very similar quirks. Midoriya just continued on his way, but taking a piece of the robot that was on the ground. The ones who had the lead until now were Shoto Todoroki, with Bakugo Katsuki hot on his heels. The others were showing off their quirks against all the robots. They were the ones who caused everyone's attention when they saw their skills. Even those in Class B were the ones who stood out more than the other classes who did their best to take down at least one robot. The heroines watching all this had to admit that the first years were doing well. Ryukyu. I'm drawn to the gravity girl. Watching on screen how Uraraka knocked down 3 robots, removed their gravity and let them fall to the ground. Lady Nagant. The one from creation is not doing badly at all, although she is falling far behind. He said this while watching Momo close cannons to destroy the robots. But they are far behind in creating their own weapons to fight. But I could see how that dwarf with purple balls of hair from before launched himself at her from behind. Lady Nagant. How is it possible that they accepted someone with that attitude? Not wanting to know that her now husband was just like that dwarf who was currently on the girl's back so he could move forward without straining, although the girl was clearly displeased by that action and was hitting the resisting dwarf with her elbow. Ryukyu. I hope our boy isn't the same, because if not, I'll tear him out with my claws. By then the camera had focused on the big drop. Where right now everyone was crossing to the other side of the cliff in their own style. Some jumping over the rocks that were in the way. Others used ropes, but some used them to climb, others skated on them. How was the young Tenya Lita and Shoto Todoroki who used their quirks? Izuku was using the rope to pass normally, even though he had a piece of robot on his back. Ryukyu. What do you think you're doing with that thing on your back? Kinda. I don't know, maybe he does it because of his quirk. Present Mick. And now the final phase to reach the finish line, the death zone. Showing on camera how Shoto had reached the minefield. Where he was now on par with Bakugo and fighting each other to take the lead. Being followed by the others who had arrived at the minefield. And it didn't take long for them to see some of them flying away because of the mines. Kinda. Now they really have it tough, well except for those who can fly. Ryukyu. I wonder what the green-haired one will do. Kinda. Wait, isn't it him? But what happened? It was the shout of Present Mick and everyone saw how a big explosion was formed. Where everyone saw something fly out and reveal itself to the student. Present Mick. It's student Midoriya from class A, did he do it on purpose? Ryukyu. Is that him? Seeing how he surpassed the duo that was first by a few meters. Kinda. Is he crazy? On the run. Bakugo. Don't get in front of me, damn Deku. Propelling himself with his explosions. Shoto. Shit, I got distracted for a second. Starting to use his ice to take the lead. Izuku. Not this time. Using the piece of metal to hit the ground again and causing the surrounding mines to activate. The explosions caused Shoto and Bakugo to go sideways, but managed to propel Izuku further forward. And without wasting time he began to run with everything he could and leave well behind the duo who were on the ground because of the explosions. Until entering the tunnel and returning to the great stadium, we were greeted by confetti and the shouts of everyone in the stadium. Present Mick. The winner of the race is Midoriya Izuku. It was the hero's cry and the young student smiling with slight tears coming out of his eyes for winning the first match. In the Midoriya house you could see how both parents were more than happy for their son. They were jumping for joy while laughing and shouting their son's name. And seeing how they announced the next arrivals, with Izumi taking 6th place. And again they began to shout with happiness. His two children had arrived at the next sports festival. They couldn't be more proud of the two of them. At the festival. The hero and duo were amazed to see the result of the race. But more because of the cunning of that boy to be able to win. Ryukyu. Using his environment to propel himself forward, something many would consider suicidal. Kinda. She's lucky those mines weren't powerful enough to do any damage to her body. Seeing how the green-haired boy was being surrounded by his classmates, congratulating him on his victory and cleverness in having done it. Ryukyu. Well, seeing him from here, you can see that he is not a bad person, although he is somewhat shy. Watching how she covered herself and blushed when she was very close to Uraraka and her friend Ranatsuyu. Kinda. So submissive. Smiling as he touched his lips with his fingers and a not-so-holy smile. Ryukyu mind. Poor boy, he will be the victim of this fetishist. Ryukyu. Calm down nymphomaniac, we have to meet him in person first, don't get the wrong idea. Mother. Yes I do. Midnight. Okay, let's move on to the next phase of the festival. Those who didn't make it through, don't worry. You still have a chance in the next game after this one. Cracking his whip to start the wheel spinning again. Ryukyu. Let's see how it goes next. Kinda. Jum, do you already care about him? Ryukyu. Don't get your hopes up, I just want to see how good it is. Midnight. Cavalry Battle. Ryukyu. With what cavalry? Kinda. What memories when we participated in that when we were second-year students. Ryukyu. Yes, and I was always the horse. Midnight. The first one has 10 million points. Both being able to see how everyone would have the green-haired man as their main objective to win. Kinda. Sometimes Narumi can be a bit cruel. Ryukyu. You can say that, but now let's see how it goes. End of chapter. Chapter 2. What? Chapter 2. All the students who had managed to pass to the second phase of the sports festival. They were forming their teams for the cavalry battle. Many forming teams of 3 or 2, even giving themselves a maximum of 5. Both heroines, who were watching everything from their private box. It's toast. The two of them thought when they saw how the same companions of the green-haired man. They were avoiding it. Ryuko. It's more than obvious that no one would want to be with him, he would be everyone's goal. Kinda. It's like going hunting, he would be the prey and the others the hunters. Seeing how the green-haired man was already resigned to looking for companions. Until the blonde could see how the brown-haired girl from before had arrived where he was. Giving them a few light words, they then saw the green-haired boy smiling, having some kind of bride aura and bathing the brown-haired girl in tears. Kinda. Apparently, someone took pity. They both started talking to each other so they could start talking about their new strategy. Until seeing how his sister approached them and joined the team. Making them both hug the green-haired girl who laughed a little at that. Izuku just started telling them that they needed 2 or 1 more member to complete the team. Ryukyu. He seems to have great confidence in them, but he seems like a magnet. He said this when he saw how a pink-haired girl had approached them and told him that she wanted to be part of number 1's team, very close to the green-haired boy who was scared by his glasses. Kinda. I don't know what to say to that, but he seems to be a bit confident sometimes. He said seeing how instead of getting nervous with the pink girl, she started talking about her inventions that she called babies. Being watched by his sister and the brown-haired girl. The latter had a very serious look, but fortunately no one noticed. Ryukyu. He will obviously be the rider, and the others will be his knights, and he has great defense and offense. Kinda. Gravity, fire, and maybe those gadgets will help, that's true. But seeing how they approached a crow-headed boy who agreed to be their team. In the sand. Midnight. Time's up, teams are formed. He spoke to hit the ground with his whip and at the same time the alarm sounded. Everyone already had their teams formed. Izuku Komo Jinite, Teniendo Izumi, Uraraka, Mei Wai Tokoyami. Uraraka and Izumi both from the back as defense. Tokoyami up front as an offensive and Mei defensive with her inventions. Todoroki Kanye Oirozu, Lita Y Kaminari. Bakugo with Kirishima, Mina and Siro. So each one formed their teams, some of them being very striking like those of Class B. But there was something that everyone wanted and that was the 10 million points of the green-haired guy who was the focus of everyone's attention. Ryukyu. How do you think it will go? I'm talking about how everyone was preparing to go against them specifically. Kinda. Passing would be difficult under these circumstances, but he won the obstacle course without using his quirk and with a good strategy with the mines. Let's see what he can show us now. In the sand. Midnight. Start. I shout to sound an alarm that started the game now. And as it was not expected. Everyone went against the green-haired team, which was surrounded by many. Izuku. Ahara Harsum-san, Uraraka-san. Both girls listened and used Uraraka's floating quirk in Hatsume's rocket backpack. I managed to get everyone, holding onto Izuku, up in the air. As well as helping Izumi a little with her fire that was propelling everyone. Managing to regain ground and falling to the ground to continue running and avoid unnecessary fights. Izuku. Your invention is truly incredible, Hatsume-san. Mei. That's right. Uraraka. It's because I lighted. Somewhat jealous and whispering so no one can hear her. Izumi. We have to stay out of it, brother, look. Everyone saw how Team Todoroki was heading towards them. Izuku. Todoroki-kun. Tokoyami. Kaminari. I shout for everyone to see how the blonde was surrounded by lightning and the Yaoi Rozu created a layer of electricity-resistant fabric. Izumi. This is bad. Kaminari. A million flips. I screamed to trigger a huge electric shock in the entire area around me. Darth Shadow stood in front of Izuku, taking all the electronic damage, but not being the only one. Almost all of the cavalry battle teams were attacked by lightning. Taking serious damage, but being the perfect opportunity for Todoroki. But the heroines. Ryukyu. That was clever. Kinda. With so many enemies, it's hard to think of many ways to defend yourself. Seeing how Todoroki had frozen the entire ground, managing to catch everyone and being very quick to take their bandages. Also Izuku's in his 10 million points. Ryukyu. He was smart, but now he'll be everyone's target. He said this while seeing how some managed to break free and began to go after the bicolor team. Kinda. Speaking of goals, it seems like someone is taking it very seriously or more. She said, seeing how her friend looked at the short-haired boy who was like a wild animal. Since he was fighting directly against the blonde from Class B and his team. Ryukyu. It's like seeing the spitting image of Rumi in his school days. He said it, reminiscent of a teenage Rumi in her moments of anger. Kinda. She may be strong, but her attitude leaves a lot to be desired. Watching how Bakugo was yelling at his teammates to go after Todoroki and Midoriya. They were fighting amongst themselves to get back the 10 million points. Ryukyu. If he goes after others, he won't achieve anything, he only has to go after Endeavor's son. Kinda. I know, it will be a difficult task to go crazy for everyone else, just have to wait if you are lucky. He said seeing how Shoto and Izuku were about to crash into each other. And with the Bakugo jumping between them as a tertiary. In the sand. The first attempt had failed, having another bandage that is not of the 10 million. And about to crash into each other to see who would take the victory. But. Present Mick. Time's up. Screaming for everyone to stop and making Bakugo fall to the ground abruptly, being suspended in the air. In the sand. Izuku. Damn, we lost. Tokoyami. I don't think so. Izumi. How? At that moment Darth Shadow showed that he had a bandage with a large number. Uraraka. But how did you do it? Mei. When did you do it? Surprised, since she never saw them do it. Tokoyami. It was when Lita was going to attack us head-on, I took advantage of them being close. Izuku. Gracious Tokoyami-kun. Izumi. We made it through. Screaming and hugging Uraraka who was celebrating in the same way. Without anyone noticing, Shoto was seriously looking at Izuku. But with his left arm raised, as if it were dirty. But the heroines. They were both surprised to see the leaderboard. Ryukyu. Logro Pacer. Kinda. What luck. Giving lunch time to all students who made it to the next round, take a break from all the testing. Kinda. Do you want to go eat? Ryukyu. Maybe I'd like some takoyakis. Turning around next to her friend who turned around to leave the box. Kinda. Let's see if we can talk to the boy, we already have a glimpse from a distance, but what will he be like up front? Ryukyu. Well, from what we saw, he'll get nervous when he sees us, he. A little amused by the boy's nervousness towards the girls in front of him. Kinda. It'll be fun to tease him a little. Imagining for a few moments how the green-haired boy would get nervous when it came to hugging him. But Izuku. This one was in front of Shoto, who was looking at him seriously. Not knowing why the two-tone, I wanted to talk to him. Until he began to explain everything about his assumption that he was the son of All Might. Although of course, Izuku told him that that was impossible. Then the bicolor explained about the topic of marriages based on quirks in his family's past. Pointing out the past that the entire Todoroki family had and his scar on his left eye. Giving the green-haired man more doubts about all of that and wondering. Izuku's mind. And what do I have to do with his past? He thought, seeing the bicolor looking at his left hand with hatred. Shoto. That's why he challenges you. Looking at Izuku, who tensed up a little. Shoto. I plan to win this competition, just my mother's power, it's not personal. Turning around to leave the tunnel they were in. Izuku. Are you really just going to fight like this? Stopping the bicolor for a few moments. Izuku. Everyone here is giving 100%, the festival is very important to them, many have a lot of hope to stand out here for their future as heroes, do you really think this will make you better than your father? Angry to look into the eyes of the bicolor, who was very surprised. In all his time getting to know the green-haired man, the two-tone man had never seen him act that way, much less look at someone with hatred. Izuku. You don't dare declare yourself the winner. Passing by Shoto, who was still in shock. Izuku. If you want to win the festival with only half your power, then you don't deserve to be in it. Being the last thing he said before leaving the tunnel, leaving the bicolor who looked at him in shock. Even the gossip who was furthest down the tunnel. Shoto's mind. Damn, I forgot to tell him about the engagement and that I wanted his consent, now I doubt I can do it. But the heroines. They were eating some snacks while walking through the corridors of the large stadium. Ryukyu. After all, we didn't find it. Eating a meat bun and an energy drink. Kinda. It must be in the student cafeteria, it would be impossible for us to get in without attracting attention. Eating some onigiris that I had with some black tea. Ryukyu. You're right. It can actually be a bit cold sometimes. Both heroines saw that it was All Might who was looking towards the stairs. As if someone were there. Kinda. Horitoshi. I speak casually to number 1, who just showed his characteristic smile. Ryukyu. Were you talking to someone? She said somewhat confused, since she knew that her coworker was sometimes a bit strange for being so exotic. All Might. I tried to convince Endeavor to have a cup of tea and talk for a while, but you know how he is, he left upset. Kinda. Tashi, you know that burnt-ass idiot even bothers to look at you in a picture. Ryukyu. Has a good point. All Might. I just try to get along with him, but it's always the same. Kinda. You're too good for too many idiots. Students who have advanced to the next phase of the festival, please come to the arena. I speak through the microphones. All Might. Haha, it's about to start. Kinda. Do you have a favorite student perhaps? With some grace towards your comment. All Might. You could say yes. Passing by them to increase the pace a little. All Might. I'm sorry, but someone is waiting for me, I don't want to keep him waiting. Running away at full speed, leaving the heroines behind. All Might mind. Damn, I was careless, I didn't calculate the time. But the heroines. Kinda. I guess talking to Endeavor left a bad taste in her mouth. Ryukyu. Anyone who would talk to Enji would have a bad taste in their mouth. Kinda. Anyway, let's go, maybe we can see the boy in action. In the sand. After some resign from the Shinso team, only Ibara Shiozaki entered instead of Ijiro. Already having the fight list, the first being Izuku Midoriya against Hitachi Shinso. Shinso. 2 ears, Izuku Midoriya. I speak, appearing behind him, making the green-haired man shudder a little. Izuku. Soy. Ijiro. Midoriya, don't talk to him. Intervening between the green-haired man and the purple-haired man, the latter just smiled sideways and went to wait for his fight. Ijiro. Midoriya, follow me, I'll tell you something. Izuku. Okay. Midnight. For those who weren't able to qualify for this phase, don't worry, with the new arcade games you'll be able to participate for a while before the final phase begins. He said to start with, those who didn't qualify should start asking people at the stadium for things. In the game in search of treasure. Creator's note. But since we don't care about that, we'll get straight to the point that everyone wants, end of note. Now we can see how the green-haired man was in front of the purple-haired man. Both waiting for the signal for the fight. Izuku was more than ready, especially with the warning he had from his partner. Shinso. Mirindo. Izuku's mind. Shinso. That's what you thought, right? Smiling a little at how confused the green-haired man was. Midnight. Both ready. Shinso. That guy in line is really a fool. He's like a monkey who wastes an opportunity like this. Midnight. Start. Shinso. What are you going to do? Unable to finish, he received a direct air bullet to his stomach, sending him several meters to the ground. Izuku. Don't you dare talk like that, friend. With his hand raised and a purple finger from his attack. Midnight. Shinso is out of bounds, the winner is Midoriya. Surprising everyone with his quick reaction and attack. But congratulating the green-haired man who just approached the purple-haired man and extended his hand. But the heroines. They were surprised to see such a quick victory and even more so the way he helped his enemy after winning. Hina. Can be a rude person sometimes. Seeing how he was now apologizing for being kind of mean to him. Ryukyu. He is certainly someone interesting. End of chapter. Chapter 3. What? Chapter 3. Izuku. Why did you act like you didn't know me? The green-haired man spoke while standing next to his friend Shinso in the infirmary. Because he went to talk to him for a while and more about the subject that they didn't know each other. Shinso. I wanted to be mysterious, that guy from before looked at me badly and I thought he would do the same to you and find out you were my friend. He spoke while holding the place where he was hit by the green-haired man's attack. Shinso. Since when can you attack like that? I really didn't expect that attack, I actually thought you were going to come at me head on. Izuku. Haha, it's just that I get the better of the excitement, I attack without thinking. Shinso. Wow, let's see if you have the same luck against that Todoroki. He said it getting out of bed and just as Recovery Girl arrived. Recovery Girl. I see you're feeling better. Hitting the green-haired man on the head with a stick, he complained of pain. Izuku. And why is that? Recovery Girl. Because you guys are already healthy, another injured person can come at any moment and you take up space, hurry up. Izuku. Yes. Shinso. Here we go. But as soon as they reached the gate, they felt the entire stadium shake. Scaring the three of them a little, more than Izuku grabbed Shinso's shoulder who complained of pain from his friend's strong grip. Izuku. What was that? In the sand. Even at the edge of the arena, it reached outside the dome of the great stadium. A huge ice igloo was being seen by everyone. The person responsible for that attack was Shoto Todoroki, who had just finished his match against Hantashiro. Midnight. The winner is Shoto Todoroki. The 18 heroine speaks with half of her body frozen and shivering from the cold. Shiro. Woo you, believe, can I? I speak very coldly until I see how the bicolor approached him. Shoto. I'm sorry, I was angry. Beginning to thaw all the ice surrounding Shiro and Midnight. It doesn't suit you. Nice try. The entire stadium spoke to the black-haired man who lost in a very crushing way. The duo of heroines watching everything from their private box just had poker faces. Hina. Like father, like son. Ryukyu. I think that saying is more, the Todoroki are somewhat crazy. Hina. Heh, don't even tell me, maybe Enji has worked things out with his wife, but that doesn't repair all the damage he did. Serious and somewhat annoyed at seeing the large igloo that was melting. Ryukyu. You're right, but speaking of which, I'm surprised by the way Midoriya acted. Hina. Remember what they say, the quietest are the most dangerous. Ryukyu. Curious, a wolf in rabbit's clothing, if Rumi were here, at least he would have some idea of him. Hina. You're right, it will be difficult to talk to her. With Izuku. He had separated from Shinso so that each of them could go to their own box with their class. Shinso, for his part, was well received by all his classmates for being the only one in the entire class to reach that phase, although he was unable to win. Izuku, for his part, arrived just as the fight between Kaminari and Ibara of Class B began. Uraraka. Deku-kun. Calling his friend who arrived, being well received by everyone. Izuku. Hey guys, were you late to the fight? Watching Kaminari being surrounded by multiple lightning bolts. Uraraka. No, it's just about to start. At that moment he felt a hand placed on his shoulder. Bajiro. Dude, thanks for that. Izuku. You're welcome. Kirishima. Dude, defending a friend from someone who talks bad about him, that's so manly. Giving him a big hug from his neck but with some tears coming out. Present Mick. Incredible, the fight is over. Izuku. What? Seeing how Kaminari was in his dumb mode but trapped in Ibara's vines. Giving him the victory. Jiru. I'm not surprised he lost. Mineta. Shit, at least it made me a lot of money. Izuku. Next to fight is Lita-san. Talking to Uraraka and ignoring Monama's taunts, who was knocked out by Kendo and apologizing to Class A. Uraraka. How do you think it will go? Izuku. Mei-sen isn't that good at close combat, but Lita-sen isn't that cruel to go that far against her, it would be difficult for him. But the heroines. They were laughing at everything that was happening in the fight. Kinda. Hahaha, I hope Tensei isn't watching this, he. The blue-haired boy was being tested in front of everyone. Ryukyu. I don't have to laugh, but I can't help it, it's so sad. Watching how the pink-haired girl voluntarily left the arena with a big smile and a very humiliated Lita. Creator's note. The fights would continue until Izumi and Kirishima's fight. Mina vs Aoyama. Winner lands a punch in the jaw and melts his belt. Tokoyami contra Yaoi Rozu. Winner Tokoyami, the crow boy really crushed the girl, not even giving her a chance to think, knocking her out of the arena. The crushing defeat for the girl. Until the fight between Izumi and Kirishima. The heroine duo were surprised to see the girl, she seemed to have more confidence than her brother as soon as she entered. I wink at the Redeed, who was surprised and blushed a lot. Kinda. It seems that girl has more confidence, how bad she is engaged to Todoroki. I speak with some sadness as I recall seeing a report from the court about the partner Midoriya was assigned when she was looking for the partner she and her friends were assigned. Ryukyu. I wonder if brother knows about that. Present Mick. Young Kirishima retires from combat because his manly morals don't allow him to hit women. That's a man. Watching the Redeed walk away from the arena with many tears and a glow around him. With Izumi with a slight smile and bowing to her friend. Bakugo and Uraraka's fight was a complete massacre for everyone. The poor boy was crushed and even burned a little by the Polisoniso. But he had no mercy, it even seemed that he enjoyed it more than anything, hurting the girl. Mainly for being Deku's closest friend. But earning the hatred of the entire stadium, not even Izawa could help him even if he wanted to. Kinda. That kid is crazy, are you sure he wants to be a hero? I speak with some horror and concern towards the girl who was being taken by the robots to the infirmary. Ryukyu. He's a savage, doesn't he go to a psychologist? Angry like her friend about the fighting show she just saw. Kinda. I'll be right back. I need a cold drink and if possible, something to shoot at. Leaving the place, touching her forehead in anger and somewhat worried about the girl. Han Izuku, Izumi y Lita. We can see the friendly duo outside the infirmary. Izuku. Will Uraraka-san be okay? With a lot of concern and some anger towards the Polisoniso for having done that to his friend. Izumi. Now Bakugo has gone too far, what the hell is going through his head? Lita. That attitude is unacceptable. Izumi. Brother, I don't want to deny you seeing her, but your fight is next. I speak as I recall the order of the fights. Lita. Really Midoriya-kun, you should go, we will see Uraraka-san. Izuku. It's still a while before they call me, at least I want to be calm when I see her with my own eyes. Somewhat serious and worried, he knew firsthand what Bakugo's explosions and blows felt like. He knew well that Uraraka was strong, but the other was a wild animal. At that moment the recovery girl door opened. Izuku. Recovery girl, how is Uraraka-san? Izumi. Is it okay? Lita. How is your health? All three spoke at the same time, only to receive 3 blows to the head with a stick from the old lady. Lita. Also. Izuku Izumi. And why is that? Rubbing his head at the same time with the same anime-style tearful expression. Recovery girl. She's fine, don't make a fuss in front of the infirmary, brats. Somewhat angry and still waving his cane. Izuku. We're very sorry, but can we see her? Izumi. Please let us see it. Recovery girl. Sigh, okay, but don't make too much noise. Stepping aside to let them pass, he was able to see Uraraka with some bandages and band-aids. Uraraka. Hello friends. With a smile and rubbing the back of his neck. Uraraka. It can't be, I lost, he. Izumi could only hug her with a few tears coming out. Lita could only sigh and sit down on a nearby chair. Izuku. You don't have to be like this Uraraka, you can let go, we're here. Uraraka. What are you talking about, Deku-kun? I'm fine. I knew I didn't have a chance. Still smiling, but being hugged by Izumi who let go, only tightening the hug a little more. Lita. Uraraka-san, Midoriya-kun is right. Uraraka. What are you guys saying? I'm fine, really. Izuku just sighed and turned around to leave the place. Izuku. I'm the next one to fight, I hope you get better. Without giving him a look and closing the door behind him. Leaving a silence burying the entire room. Izumi. He's angry. Coming out of the hug to look at the door for a few moments where his brother had gone. Lita. And he's not the only one, what Bakugo did is unforgivable. Uraraka. It's it sniff. Now she is shedding her tears with her head bowed. With Izuku. We can see the aforementioned walking through the corridors of the place until reaching more stairs. Where he ran into Bakugo. Izuku just looked at him to walk past him. Bakugo. Oh, don't you dare ignore me, Deku. He said it to see him, but the green-haired man ignored him, he simply continued on his way without looking at him. Bakugo. Was it you who told that round face about the strategy? Izuku stopped this time, only to look at him with a hatred that even made the little-haired boy shudder a little. Izuku. Don't be mistaken, all of that was your Rakusen's plan, you were on the ropes the whole time by someone else's own hands. Bakugo. Titch, at least I hope it's clear to you what awaits you if you continue with this. He spoke in a mocking manner, but Izuku turned around to start walking towards him, so loudly that his footsteps could be felt and heard. I even swore the stairs were about to break. Bakugo. What's up? Have you already put on your pants to take care of me? He said he wanted to do the same, but he was very surprised by what he saw. Izuku. When all this is over, a coffin with your name on it will be waiting for you at his house. Bakugo took a step back in surprise at the look the green-haired man gave him. Even Izuku started to float a little to be above Bakugo, giving him a feeling of superiority. Izuku. With me you can do everything you want, Bakugo, but doing it to one of my friends, and much more if it's a girl or my own sister, I won't be as submissive as I was in our encounter. Stopping floating and walking again towards his destination, which was the sand. Bakugo just clicked his tongue and left the place angrily. Without realizing that someone had seen it and everything. So you must, from time to time it can be someone bad. Coming out of hiding and intercepting the boy, she caused him to crash into her. Izuku. I'm so sorry, I wasn't. Kinda. Don't worry guys, just be more careful. Izuku was left with only the surprise on his face, and the heroine just had a neutral expression, but inside she was laughing a little. Ina's mind. Haha, seeing it up close, it really is adorable. Izuku. The heroine Lady Nagant, I am a big fan of hers. End of chapter. Chapter 4. What? Chapter 4. Ina and Tsutsumi are better known as the sniper heroine Lady Nagant. At first I didn't agree with the whole arranged marriage thing. Much less if it was a 15 or 16-year-old youth. She and Ryukyu had the same thought that the boy was forced like them. Of course, that's what they thought when they saw him at the sports festival. Her friend Rumi, being the most imperative and aggressive, wanted to go after that guy and beat him to death. At first I also had the same thought as Rumi, shooting that boy, since like any teenager with altered hormones, he would be a pervert. But all that went down the drain, since right now, she was standing in front of her now husband. Saying that you are a fan of his and ask him about his quirk rifle. In a very energetic way, as if he were a child receiving his Christmas present. But the glow around him, following questions about her quirk and praising her, about her exploits from her beginnings as a heroine he noticed. Kinda mind. Haha, he's a hero geek. Midoriya, Izuku and Shoto Todoroki report to the battle arena in 2 minutes. Izuku. Ah, my fight, I'm so sorry, I have to go. Lady Nagant. No problem boy, just go before you get disqualified. Izuku. Excuse me. Passing by him to increase his pace running to head to his fight. Ina's mind. It seems that she knows nothing about marriage, if she hadn't seen me differently. She said it remembering in detail that she only asked her about her quirk and her time as a heroine. Ina's mind. It would be better to tell Ryuko this and find a way to tell that boy about the subject, it is evident that no one told him about it. Going up some stairs to leave immediately with her friend and see the fight that was about to take place. In the sand. We can see how now the two opponents were face to face. Midoriya Izuku from Class A of the Hero Course against Shoto Todoroki from Class A of the Hero Course. Everyone in the arena was applauding the two, eagerly awaiting their fight. The two had finished their fights very quickly, almost effortlessly. Izuku with an air punch and Shoto with a large igloo that froze half the stadium. Present Mick. Here are the two young men who destroyed their opponents with a single attack, who will win this fight. Midnight. Are you ready? Izuku was only surrounded by faint green lightning around him. Shoto just nodded and was surrounded by a cold air. Midnight. Fight. The first to launch the first attack was Shoto with ice facing the green-haired man. But he was quickly dodged by the green-haired man who jumped high and then raised his hand. Launching an air bullet that went against the bicolor. Which was pushed to the edge of the arena but quickly being helped by an ice ramp that created. But he could notice that the green-haired man was floating in the air. Firing another air bullet at the bicolor that moved to the side. And throwing a large ice pick that went against the broccoli-haired boy. But this one only moved using his quirk of floating to one side and firing 2 air bullets at once. Forcing Shoto to take cover but being forced to the ground by the force of both impacts. Present Mick. Midoriya-sen is having a great advantage in the air, Todoroki's attacks cannot reach him unless he creates another igloo. Izawa. Midoriya knows that Todoroki, if he does that again he will be disqualified, apart from not having the energy to do it again. With Class A. Izumi. Good one there, brother. Supporting his twin as he was having the bicolor against the ropes. Enki. Damn, I already lost my bet money. He said it, seeing how he bet his money against Zero. Zero. That's what you get for defining popularity. Come on Midoriya, come on, my fall. I shout with some bills in my hands, watching as Izuku went down to the floor and began to surround the bicolor. Who was just preparing for his next move. Momo. It seems that Todoroki-san is having difficulties with his quirk. I analyze the black-haired girl when I see the two-tone color, being able to notice how her right side was slowly freezing. Jiru. If he doesn't use fire, he'll get hypothermia. He said this while watching Izuku give him a strong blow to his stomach that sent him several meters back. But his left arm was not saved, as it was slightly frozen. Bakugo's mind. Shit, I wanted to face the half-half, since when is the damn Deku so strong? Gripping the sleeve of his uniform tightly, his eyes showing their veins from the anger he felt. But the heroines. Ryukyu. So he doesn't know. Seeing how Todoroki was shivering from the cold of his own ice. Kinda. Yes, it seems that his parents didn't tell him, and as I say, it's something nice, he's not a bad guy when you meet him. Ryukyu. I'm still surprised that the first thing she said when she saw you was that she's your fan and asked a lot of questions about your quirk. Laughing a little like her friend at the memory. But it was interrupted by a strong wave of wind with a cold and heat that disconcerted them. In the arena you could see how Shoto used his two quirks and Izuku used one for all. Both of them seemed like they were going to end this fight once and for all. But it was noticeable how Todoroki was more angry than excited. In the sand. Izuku. Come on, show me that it's not just a child's tantrum. Shoto. Now you'll see. So both of them threw themselves at each other with resentment in their eyes. Apparently Izuku was very bothered that the bicolor was only giving him half, looking down on the others who tried hard and gave their all at the festival. Shoto was more than annoyed that he was using his fire side against Midoriya, the only thing that led him to use it as a last resort, but if he didn't want to lose, he would have to use it with everything. Aizawa. Midnight, stop them now. I shouted into the microphone, but the 18 heroine couldn't do anything against me. And about to connect his fists, Cementos used his quirk, managing to block the attacks for a few moments. But it was almost useless, as its walls were destroyed and both attacks connected. A huge tornado formed around the arena, nearly taking everyone out of the stadium. Present Mick. Your students are crazy. Getting up as best he could after having fallen due to the strong shaking of the attacks. Aizawa. I hardly ever teach them that kind of thing. Leaning a little on his bandaged arms, he showed that he was somewhat angry. Present Mick. Hey Midnight, who won? I can't see anything. But the heroines. Kinda. Wow, that was crazy. Ryukyu. And you can say that, they may be students, but they have incredible potential. Seeing through the dust as a figure stood in the sand, fist outstretched in front of him. Until he saw both sides of the arena and found himself outside the arena, Todoroki, on top of a cement block of the hero. Midnight. Todoroki is out of the arena, the winner is Midoriya. People saw the green-haired man in the middle of the arena with half of his upper clothing torn, revealing his sweaty toned body. Being surrounded by several applauses from everyone and shouts of congratulations for his victory. The heroines watched this in amazement, truly that boy was at a higher level than average. Ryukyu. I have to admit, it's not bad at all. Kinda. Hey, control your crazy hormones, dragon, you haven't even exchanged words with him, he's a big fan of heroes, so don't ruin your image, you don't want to give him a bad impression. After that, the green-haired man left the arena with a large reddish hue on his cheeks, due to having part of his body exposed. And I could hear some girls making indecent comments about desecrating him. He could even hear them mocking him about his situation. Once out of sight, he was able to let out a deep sigh. Once inside the tunnel and away from everyone, I could let it all out. Kneeling down and feeling the pain in his fingers from using the OFA. Izuku. Oh, my fingers. Screaming to himself and seeing how he had 3 fingers destroyed on each hand. Izuku. Now yes, I think recovery girl is going to kill me. Do you want me to help you with your will? He looked up to see what Shinso was, who was standing in front of him with a mocking smile. Izuku. Since when are you there? Raising and hiding his hands behind him. Shinso. Since the whole match, you were really angry. Izuku. Huh? I don't know what you're talking about. Shinso. Izuku, I've known you for a long time, I know when you're angry, you can't fool me. Going behind him and lightly hitting him with his knee in his hands, causing him to complain of pain. Shinso. Haha, you better go to the infirmary, you're really sick. Izuku. Thanks for that. Shinso. I'll accompany you to the infirmary so I can stop Izumi from strangling you. Izuku. We better go before he comes. While both friends happily discussed the situation of the freckled man, or well, rather laughing at him. On the other side of the tunnel another not-so-good meeting was taking place. And it was father and son. The Todorokis were obviously not in the best mood at all. Shoto. I don't want another word, I could only use my fireside as a last option. Endeavor. And yet, you lost, but that's normal, son. In all this time, you didn't know how to control your flames, but with my training, you'll be able to do it better. Shoto, despite having a neutral relationship with his father because of what happened in the past, from time to time, he had to admit that he let the good father come out, although it was not for long. Endeavor. But losing to your fiancé's brother, that changes things. Shoto's mind. Damn, I forgot to tell Midoriya that again. Hitting his forehead for his forgetfulness, but confusing his father because of it. Endeavor. Are you okay? Shoto. Dude, I have something to tell you about arranged marriage. In the infirmary. Recovery girl. Idiota. Hitting the green-haired man hard on the head with his cane, he complained of pain. Showing how his fingers were healed, but only the index finger of his left hand was bandaged. Izuku. I know, I was reckless. Rubbing his head in pain, but listening to Shinso laughing at him in the corner of the room. Recovery. Dude, if you continue to the next round, I'll have no choice but to perform surgery if you push your body to the limit. Shinso changed his expression from mocking to serious upon hearing that, and Izuku just stood in shock. I really didn't know how much he got carried away in that fight against Todoroki. Izuku. It's okay. Seeing how the old woman gave him a candy and pointed him to the door. Recovery girl. Now outside, there's still a long way to go until your fight, so you better think about what you're going to do. He just nodded and left the place with his purple-haired friend. The winner is Tenya Lita from Class A. Being able to hear how present Mick told the winner of the current round. Shinso. It seems you already have a rival, but are you sure you want to continue like this? He said this as he climbed some stairs next to the green-haired man. Izuku. Yes, just one more fight, if I overdo it in this one, I'll retire. Shinso. Good choice, that or the old lady sticking her cane up your ass. Excuse me, young man. The two turned around upon hearing the female voice behind them and were speechless to see that it was the Ryukyu dragon heroine. Izuku. Is the Ryukyu dragon heroine. But the glow around him again, his fanatic side came back. Shinso. Come on, old man, the scariest. A bit nervous as they didn't expect to have a top heroine in front of them. Ryukyu. I see you're fans of mine. Izuku. That's right, could you give us a? Reaching into his jacket, he realized he didn't have his hero notebook. Shinso. Were you looking for this? Showing the green-haired man's analysis notebook. Izuku. Thank you Shinso, could I have your autograph please? Showing a notebook page and a pen towards the heroine. Ryukyu. Sure, no problem. Smiling and taking the pen, but noticing that the page seemed to be hers. Well, he could notice that there was a drawing of her with some information about her quirk and her strengths. Signing the page and seeing how the green-haired boy was more than happy. Izuku. Thank you heroine Ryukyu. Shinso. You're lucky I took it because knowing you, you'd probably die without a signature from any of the heroes here. Ryukyu. Well, taking advantage of the fact that I'm here, I would like to please speak with young Midoriya. Izuku. Why me? Shinso. I'm sure they'll scold you again, I'll wait for you upstairs, I'm going to go watch the other fights. Going up the stairs and leaving the green-haired and blonde dragon alone. Izuku's mind. He's sure going to scold me for how reckless I was. Ryukyu. Let me tell you, young Midoriya. Izuku. And what is it, Miss Ryukyu? A little nervous that he'll have to get scolded again by someone else. Ryukyu. It was amazing what you did out there. Izuku. What? Ryukyu. But the way you did it wasn't right, you put yourself at great risk. Mente to Izuku. Also. Ryukyu. You need special training to somehow control your quirk. Izuku. I know, right now I have someone who will train me after the festival. Ryukyu. Really? How bad, I wanted to invite you to my agency. Izuku. What? Ryukyu. Didn't they tell you about the internships? Ryukyu's mind. He looks me in the eyes all the time, but seeing him nervous is funny. Seeing how he was blushing as red as a tomato while he struggled to keep his legs from shaking. Izuku. I'll take it as Miss Ryukyu, but I'd also like to see more options, don't take it the wrong way. Wanting not to be rude by rejecting his offer, since I would have to investigate everything first. Ryukyu. No problem young man, but remember, my offer still stands. Izuku, see you Miss Ryukyu. About to turn around, but being held by his face. And then he felt something against his cheek, soft and wet. The kiss from the blonde on his cheek took him by surprise. Ryukyu. we'll see each other soon, we'll have to talk about something later. Turning around to walk down the hall, giving the boy a good view of his rear end and exposed back. But he quickly blushed so much that he looked like he was going to faint at any moment. Earning a glance from the blonde who turned around a corner to disappear from the boy's sight. Izuku's mind. But what just happened? Coming out of his shock as he felt a huge explosion outside. Izuku. Damn, I missed the fights. Going up the stairs to go directly to the railings, he could see the screen that let him see his sister. Being carried by robots on a stretcher, on the way to the infirmary. Many boos were directed towards the winner of that match. Bakugo, despite having won and receiving a lot of boos from heroes and civilians, had a big smile on his face. To then see the fight table. Izuku only saw his sister injured before entering the tunnel, slightly squeezing his hero notebook he had. Izuku's mind. You're dead, Bakugo. End of chapter. Chapter 5. What am I what? Chapter 5. The green-haired man's face revealed everything he was feeling at that moment. Luckily, her sister didn't have any fractures or serious injuries in case she fights against Bakugo. But still, he had bandages covering where he was most injured and some burns from the explosions. Both brothers' friends were with him right now. Uraraka hugged Izumi, knowing well the feeling of being defeated by Bakugo. Sai was also with them, but crying a little out of worry. Recovery girl. That boy is a savage, this girl was harder to cure than the others. Mina. But it will be okay, right? He said behind Izuku, who remained silent and serious at all times, so much so that it worried his sister who noticed his expression. Recovery girl. For now, you'll have to rest completely and take a medicine I'm going to prescribe so you can heal faster. Izuku just turned around to leave the place, being noticed by everyone, though. Izumi. Brother. The aforementioned stopped upon hearing it, giving a slight glance that reflected the anger he felt at that moment. Izumi. Don't do anything crazy, I'm fine, really. Izuku just turned around and left the place, although of course, everyone realized that he wasn't alright. And the proof was the handle of the infirmary door, which was completely crushed. Recovery girl mind. You owe me a new door, Toshinori. When he noticed the time, he knew there were at least 10 minutes until the next round started and another 5 minutes until they could get ready. Recovery girl. She needs to prepare for her match, I just hope she doesn't send me her opponent in critical condition. Uraraka. I don't think so, Deku-kun, he wouldn't be able to, right? Mina. I don't know, he looked very angry. Sai. Have you never heard that the calmest person should never be made angry? Izumi's mind. Please don't do something crazy with Lita-san. But the heroines. Ryukyu. Did all that really happen? He said after hearing everything the purple-haired girl told him about the previous fight, being able to notice the hostile atmosphere of some spectators throughout the stadium. Kinda. Yes, that boy is really crazy, not even Rumi dared to do that. She said angrily at how the red-haired boy dared so much in a single fight at the festival. Ryukyu. What will happen now? First of all, I doubt Eraser will leave this just like that. Kinda. I just have to wait, now I want to see how that boy will react, do you remember how it was when he defended his friend in the first one? Ryukyu. Yes, but this time it's his sister. Taking a seat in one of the chairs to wait, while he watched as some left for their food and others stayed behind talking about everything that had happened. Kinda. Hey, how did it go with the boy? He said taking a cigarette and lighting it to start smoking. Ryukyu. I did well, honestly, you were right about him, he saw me as a heroine that he admires a lot, he has no idea about arranged marriage, although he is adorable when he gets nervous. Hearing a sigh with some smoke in front of her. Kinda. You're right about that, it is very corruptible. Ryukyu's mind. Well, the only thing I should feel bad about is him meeting Rumi, because kinda, I can handle her myself. Thinking about who he had to worry about the most when it came to protecting the boy. But Izuku. We can see him in the waiting room, he started making 1,000 plans for hours. Although with a grimace full of hatred, seeing his sister being hurt like that. I'm sorry. Since he was a child, Bakugo was always a wild animal, ever since he awakened his quirk. He did nothing but abuse the weakest and look down on them. Praise from others for his quirk and telling him that he will always be a great hero like All Might made his ego grow. My sister and I luckily decided to stay away from him when we told our parents about it. We were forbidden to approach him, even if he did something, and it happened once that he attacked us when I defended a child from him and his henchmen. He was warned by the principal, even when we met his mother. She was kind to us and apologized. I still don't know how a great woman, Hexie too, can give birth to a demon like him. When we entered high school it was at least a little easier, since apart from having a warning on his record. Even when we met Shinso it was easier to get away from him, since thanks to him he was good, the quirk of Izawa sensei's lost son was very useful against him. Besides the fact that it's very easy to provoke, it wasn't difficult at all, and the idiot never realized it. Well, as they always say, a lot of strength but little brain. End of Izuku's narration. Normal narration. At that moment the door had opened, revealing Lita, who seemed very serious. Izuku? What are you doing here, Lita? Is our meeting about to begin? At that moment the blue-haired man bowed in front of him, which confused the green-haired man. Lita. I'm very sorry Midoriya-san, but we won't be able to fight. Izuku? What? At the stadium. In the announcer's place were Mick and Izawa, who looked like Imovia, they were arguing. Present Mick. I'm surprised your student does this eraser. Izawa. Don't even tell me, I know that life out there will be difficult and even more so if it's about being a hero, but Bakugo has a serious problem and on top of that, against the Midoriyas. At that moment his phone had rang, seeing that it was a message from his student. Izawa. Lita. Change of scene. We can see how the time for the semi-finals arrived and the masses couldn't wait any longer. But. Present Mick. Before starting the semi-finals, I came to inform you that Tenya Lita has voluntarily withdrawn from the competition due to family matters, so Izuku Midoriya moves on to the final. But the students. Uraraka. Like, what did Lita-kun do? Momo. What happened to him? Sayu. Well, the good thing is that Midoriya-san moves on to the final, now we just have to see the fight between Tokoyami-san and Bakugo. Watching on the screen, both of those mentioned appeared, being called to the arena. But Izuku. We can see the green-haired man walking through the hallways with a sad look. Izuku's mind. The hero killer attacked his brother, I can't believe what Lita-san feels, I hope he is okay. I see you don't like winning this way, do you, kid? The green-haired man turned around to see Endeavor, not expecting to see him in person. Izuku. Endeavor-san, what does that mean? Endeavor. Are you feeling bad about your encounter? Your face says a lot. Izuku. Well, what happens is that. With heroine. Begin. It was the shout of Present Mick that was heard throughout the stadium. Kinda. Who do you think will win? Seeing how the fight was just beginning, Tokoyami launched Dark Shadow against Bakugo. Which launched itself with an explosion against the edge of darkness. Hitting him full on, a moan of pain can be heard from the person who tried to hit him. Ryukyu. Although I don't like to admit it, the red-haired boy has an advantage over the other's quirk, it's a somewhat unfair pairing. Watching as Bakugo took to the air and then quickly approached. Kinda. I wonder why the other guy dropped out, look at missing this festival. Dark Shadow received another full attack from Bakugo, who gave a great boost to get behind the Crow Boy and give a great explosion. That sent the Crow Boy several meters back, then propelled himself forward and gave him a strong explosion that slammed him into the ground. Ryukyu. Now it's over. Banitor, Bakugo Katsuki. There weren't many shouts or cheers from the people, which obviously angered the Pelisiniso. But he just left the place with a big smile, knowing that there was only one more left. But Izuku. Endeavor. I see, Ingenium attacked by the hero killer and his brother was notified that he is in the hospital, it must be tough. The fire hero is sitting next to the green-haired man on the stairs leading to the lower floor. Izuku. Yes, the news said that he killed a total of 12 heroes so far and left others seriously injured without the ability to become heroes again, it must feel horrible. Endeavor. Don't feel bad, kid. Sometimes we can't save everyone, even if we'd like to. Heroes also fall and make mistakes. Touching the boy's shoulder, he just let out a slight sigh. Izuku. I think you're right, thanks for listening to me, Endeavor-san. Midoriya Izuku and Bakugo Katsuki report to the combat arena in 5 minutes for the final round. Endeavor. Well, I think it's time for you. Izuku. Yes, I hope to see you again, Endeavor-san. Standing up and walking down the stairs to leave. Endeavor. I hope you're ready for what comes after this, married life can be difficult. Izuku. What? Stopping in the middle of the road to see with the same confusion that the hero saw him. Endeavor. What? Your parents didn't tell you? Change of scene. Present Mick. Alright ladies and gentlemen, we're in the final phase you've all been waiting for, are you ready? People shouted with excitement and when they saw the screen, they wanted them to come in at once. But the heroines. Kinda. The time has come. Watching as they both started to walk in. Bakugo with a smile that reflected his arrogance. Izuku, for his part, only showed a neutral expression as he now had a mixture of confusion and anger. Ryukyu. If you notice something distracted. Listening as they were both introduced in the arena. Kinda. Maybe she doesn't know how to act yet. In the sand. Izuku's mind. How come I married? On top of that, to 2 heroines he admires the most. Bakugo. Are you ready to die, Deku? Izuku's mind. Maybe that explains why they approached me and were nice to me. Bakugo. Hey, are you ignoring me? Izuku's mind. On the bright side, I made a good impression, or so I think. If I had known this from the beginning, I would have acted better. Bakugo. Okay. Izuku's mind. The bad thing is that I don't know how to look at them in the face now, my fan instincts took over. Midnight. Let's fight. Bakugo. Don't ignore me, damn Deku. Launching himself at full speed with his explosions propelling him. Izuku. Snapping out of his thoughts, he leaped high to avoid the explosion. Bakugo. You won't escape from me. Using his explosion to give a great boost to go for the green-haired guy. Izuku. You are so annoying. Being surrounded by lightning and then stretching out his hand. Bakugo, seeing that, thought he would have an attack, moving to avoid it. But it was only a feint since Izuku quickly gave him a strong punch that sent him to the ground. He just stepped onto the sand, ready, but with his hand raised and a finger energized. But without waiting for the smoke to disperse, he launched a bullet of wind. Bakugo, who launched himself at him but feeling a sharp pain in his left shoulder. Because of the wind bullet, but that only made him even more angry and he continued his attack. Izuku's mind. When it comes to combat, his neurons manage to form strategies. He said, seeing how Bakugo, instead of facing forward, propelled himself with an explosion to pass over him. Managing to grab him by the collar of his shirt and slam him to the ground. Izuku's mind. If I don't do something, this idiot will beat me. Moving to his side to avoid an explosion, followed by another. Starting to evade attacks one after another with the OFA active. Present Mick. Midoriya is on the defensive, Bakugo seems like he can't do anything but keep going, what will he do now? Bakugo. What's wrong, Deku? Why don't you attack? Izuku's mind. If I don't stay calm, it will be my end. Blocking a blow with his arms from Bakugo, then kicking him in the chest, sending him away. Followed by an air bullet that hit Bakugo directly, who retreated a little further. But the heroines. Kinda. Gosh, he doesn't seem to lose his temper. Seeing how he started blocking and dodging Bakugo's attacks without losing his cool. It was like I was reading it or seeing the future. Ryukyu. It's like seeing my past self. The flashback to her time at the academy when she fought Mirko in the semi-finals of the sports festival in her second year. Kinda. And I thought he would let himself get carried away by anger, like everyone else. Watching how Bakugo managed to hit him again, but Izuku, using levitation, fired another air bullet. Ryukyu. It seems he is holding back, because tell me, why didn't he react the same way against Endeavor's son or the brainwashed one? He knows perfectly well that if he loses his temper, he's lost. Kinda. That boy will get along very well with us, but I doubt Mirko will. In the sand. Bakugo. What's wrong with you, Deku? Can't you fight seriously because you have to end up like your sister? Izuku. What did you say? The green-haired boy's hair covered his eyes, but Bakugo didn't notice. His voice became somewhat more serious and gravelly. Bakugo. Oh, I touched a nerve, right. Haha, I'll leave you worse than her. Unable to finish saying more, he felt a great blow that left him stunned. Izuku's eyes were now lifeless, just a green glow. His mind had been in complete mental conflict. If it weren't for Endeavor telling him about the marriage he was in. I would have entered the arena like a beast, but now that Bakugo mentioned it again. He pulled the trigger of the gun that was pointed at him. Bakugo's mind. Shit, that hurt, it felt like a hammer. Bakugo. Maldi. Before he could get up, he landed another big blow that left him stunned on the ground. Izuku. What you did to your Raka was wild, but luckily it wasn't serious enough to leave a burn mark on his back. Lifting his foot to stomp hard on Bakugo's stomach. He screamed in pain as he felt his ribs break. Even scaring people who saw this a little. Izuku. Then what you did to my sister was a serious mistake. Getting on top of Bakugo and grabbing him by the neck and hitting him hard. Which stained the green-haired man's fist with blood. But it went on and on, blow after blow. Apart from the blows that could be heard, there were the moans of pain from the Pellicinicio and the blood that was splashing. Izuku. I put up with a lot of things from you, but leaving my sister like that is unforgivable. Using 7% to now using 13% without realizing it. People were even surprised by that, even in his previous rounds he didn't show himself like that. His friends in class were even scared of him. Even though Bakugo was shit and they knew he deserved it, it wasn't something Izuku should get his hands dirty with. Somewhere in Japan. The entire sports festival was being broadcast across the country as it was the most important event of all. Letting himself be seen as Midnight, he had stopped the green-haired boy, using his quirk to put him to sleep. Still, I don't like the idea of being married to a brat. Mirko. Because of him, I'm screwed now. Squeezing the phone he had a little until it broke. End of chapter. Chapter 6. What am I doing? Chapter 6. The sports festival was over. Tokoyami Fumikage and Terser. Bakugo Katsuki as second place. And Izuku Midoriya as first place and champion of the UA first year sports festival. After having taken out all his anger on Bakugo Katsuki in the final fight and being stopped by Midnight thanks to his quirk, he was declared the winner, although some said he had gone too far, although of course, the vast majority were in favor of the green-haired man. Since Bakugo had already earned everyone's ugly stare from the first round. The Uraraka and Izumi's fights were already proof that he wasn't right in the head, even questioning whether the UA had reviewed his history or psychological state before accepting him. At the moment, the ceremony to award the festival winners was about to begin. The winners above each could with their respective position if they had won. Although the one that attracted the most attention was the one in second place, being Bakugo's. Since he was chained and with a muzzle that covered a large part of his mouth, apart from the bandages he had on part of his face from the blows from the green-haired man. Aside from moving like a wild animal, as if trying to break free and attack the green-haired man. Tokoyami. He looks like a wild animal. Izuku. It doesn't look like it, it's a wild animal. Izuku's mind. Can't he stay still? Even with the beating I gave him, he can't stay still. But the drop of sweat on the back of his neck as he watched a short-haired boy try to break free from his chains. Midnight. And to finish off with the presentation of medals to the winners, we have someone special for everyone. The laugh known to all was present, noticing what was already falling from the sky. I'm here now. The symbol of peace fell in front of everyone with a bright smile that characterized him. Midnight. Sorry, to get ahead of myself. All Might. Nothing to worry about. Receiving the heroines' medals and approaching the winners. But the heroines. They were watching everything from afar, as the arena was now reserved for students and journalists only. Ryukyu. Now how do you think we should tell him? He said, watching how the blonde was trying to put the second place medal on Bakugo. Kinda. I think it's better to tell him, I just hope he doesn't faint, he's not a bad guy, I'll just feel bad when I see Rumi. An image of Rumi strangling Izuku came to mind. Ryukyu. I'll try to talk to her, I'm the closest to her, I just hope she comes to her senses. Kinda. You're asking too much, Ryuko. It's like saying that boy over there should behave like a person and not an animal. Referring to Bakugo, who was still trying to break out of both chains. While Izuku received the first place medal for All Might, saying a few words that couldn't be heard over the noise of the people and the music. But they must have been good words to make the green-haired boy wipe away tears of happiness while seeing the first place medal he had won. Kinda. Looks happy. I just wanted to talk to you about that. The two heroines just turned around to find Endeavor, the number 2 hero. Kinda. What do you want, Endeavor? You know there is no crime to commit at the moment. Endeavor. I know that, but I came to talk about your marriage. Ryuko. What are you going to do? Meet with the boy and explain everything to him. Endeavor. Yes, about that he knows. He said to shock the two who stared at him with great confusion. Ryuko. What do you mean? Endeavor. I accidentally told him before the last fight. She said, seeing how both of them were in shock about that. Kinda. Are you fucking kidding me? She said angrily, a grimace of annoyance showing on her face. But Izuku. After being congratulated and taking some photos, he was retiring to the locker room. Having Shinso by his side, who had a big smile for him. Shinso. Congratulations, old man, you did it. Izuku. Thank you, if I'm honest, I never thought I'd make it. Shinso. I thought the same thing too, but look, fate corrected me. Izuku. Thanks for being honest, friend. He said sarcastically to that last part. Arriving at the locker room to enter. Izuku. Wait for me here, I'll get changed and we'll go to my house to celebrate. Shinso. Okay, I'll let my parents know, maybe they'd like to go, it's been a while since we've been together. Izuku. Sounds good to me. Closing the door and heading to one of the lockers where his clothes were. Outside the locker room. The purple-haired boy was searching his phone for his parents' contacts to call them. Oh, Shinso. The purple-haired boy turned his gaze to meet Izumi, his best friend's sister. Shinso. Hey Izumi, are you feeling better now? He said, seeing the bandages on his arms and a small patch on his cheeks. Izumi. Yes, and I'm better, although some wounds still haven't healed out of nowhere, I don't feel them anymore, do you know where my brother is? Shinso. She's changing, unlike you, I see you're ready. He said, seeing how the girl was already in civilian clothes. Izumi. Yes, I finally finished this, so I got dressed. Shinso. That's exactly what Izuku wanted to do, he wants our parents to get together to celebrate, look at winning the sports festival. Izumi. I didn't even believe that, I never thought that. At that moment his phone started ringing, and when he picked it up, he saw that it was his mother. Izumi. It's my mom, I'll tell her about the idea. Answering and taking your distance to speak. Shinso. Well, I think I'll take my time. He said to go to an app and start reading a manga. Shinso's mind. Let's see, where did I leave off? Leonidas headbutted Apollo, this is Sparta. He thought, seeing where he left off on his sleeve. Creator's note. Team Leonidas. End of note. With Izumi. Izumi. Tell me mom, yes, Izuku won't be long, what happened? Like an important meeting. What about us? But why? Who is he with? And who am I with? Whose idea was it? Okay, I'll tell Izuku, see you there. Cutting the call to touch his forehead and let out a deep sigh. Izumi's mind. What Izuku will do to dad will be a massacre, Bakugo's thing will be like child's play. Fearing that her brother might do something out of anger at the news. Hey girl. Izumi. Hey. With Izuku. We can see how the green-haired man now came out in his civilian clothes. Izuku. I'm ready now. He said seeing how his friend was with a death-like look or as if his soul was leaving him. Izuku. Are you okay? He said taking his friend's phone and seeing the image on the screen. Izuku. Now I understand. Giving a light blow to his chest and releasing a small tear that came out and fell to the ground. Shinso. Why? He said with a dead and sad tone seeing his screen off. Izuku. Sorry, bro. Izumi. Brother. Arriving at the place where he and Shinso were. Izuku. Hey Izumi, what's up? Izumi. We have to go home quickly. Holding the hand of his brother who was unaware of his reaction. Shinso. Hey, what's going on? Before leaving, the green-haired man saw in the distance how there was a yellow and purple hair in the distance, bending the corridor. Izuku. I see, Shinso, I'll see you later. We'll have the meeting another time. This is serious. Running off to his sister across the hall, leaving a purple-haired boy alone. Shinso. Okay, I'll go cry quietly. Turning around to remember the death of the king. But the Broccoli twins. The younger of the two were reaching the finish point where they were now facing the female duo and the number 2 hero. Izuku. What happened to Endeavor? He said seeing how the fireman had a blow mark and some blood coming out of his nose. Ryuko. Oh nothing, just had a little accident. Glancing sideways at the hero who sweated a little from the dragon woman's gaze. Izuku. Does it happen to have to do with that commitment thing? Kinda. At least you save us the part of explaining that to you. Izuku. Look, I barely know about this, but there is a way to cane. Before finishing he felt something hard on his forehead and he could tell it was the tip of Lady Nagant's rifle. Izumi. Lady Nagant, what are you doing? Worried about her sister being targeted by a woman. Ryukyu. That's something we wanted to talk about, but on the way. Endeavor. You go first, I have to go get Shoto to talk about the subject too, Miss Midoriya, could you accompany me? Izumi. Yo. Izuku. Is my sister the same as me? Endeavor. Yes, but she is with my son Shoto. Izuku's mind. Bastard copy of Zuko, I swear to God I'll leave you a scar worse than your burn. He thought to himself cursing Shoto Todoroki, a few moments ago they didn't have a good agreement and now he finds out that his sister is engaged to him. What the hell did their parents get them into? Kinda. You'll come with us, boy, we have to talk. He said seriously while pointing at the green-haired man. Izuku's mind. Shit, I don't know if I'll get out of this alive. So both brothers went their separate ways, Izuku with the heroines on one side and Izumi with Endeavor on the other. But Izuku. This one after no longer being threatened by Lady Nagant's rifle. They had gotten into a 4-door pickup truck. Where the green-haired man got into the back with Ryukyu, with Lady Nagant as the driver. Everything was silent until they started the engine. Ryukyu. Well, it's time to talk. Smiling. To calm the boy who was obviously scared. Izuku. I'll talk to my parents so we can cancel this, I swear. He said quickly because of nerves and not wanting to be killed. Although he did get a bump on the forehead for the front seat as a Ryukyu. Because the purple-haired girl suddenly stopped. Ryuko. What's wrong with you Kinda? Watch your driving. He said rubbing his forehead because of the blow. Kinda. Sorry, but boy, what you said pissed me off. Izuku. What? Ryuko. We wanted to talk about that, we were going to tell you that we want to try to make this engagement work. Izuku. But why me? I don't mean to offend you or anything, but you're top heroines, why doesn't it bother you that you're married to a teenager? Kinda. I'll be honest, at first I thought it was crazy when I saw you, but since you didn't know anything about this, especially with the first impression you gave me, you made me change my mind. Izuku's mind. If I had known everything before, I would have run for sure. Ryuko. Besides the way you spoke to me being cute and your reaction to our meeting, you're adorable. Caressing the boy's cheek, who turned red at the memory of the heroine's kiss. Izuku. Yo. Ryukyu. Let's give each other a chance to get to know each other, okay? Izuku. That's fine, at least I'm glad they don't want to do something to me because of it. Hina. Speaking of which, boy. Ryuko. Turns out there's someone else with us. Izuku. Really, who? Hina. This is Mirko, the rabbit heroine, and she didn't take this very well. Izuku's mind. I'm dead. End of chapter. Chapter 7. What am I what? Chapter 7. Endeavor. And that's the point, young lady. Said the number 2 hero in his car, where he had his youngest son and the young Midoriya with him. Izumi. Ah, I see, so that's it. She said she understood the whole situation she and her brother were in with their commitments. Shoto. Midoriya-san, you know you are not obligated to do this, if you like we can make an agreement to cancel it. Izumi. Well, this was very sudden, to be honest, I didn't expect to have this kind of situation with the engagement. Thinking that she might be looking for a partner until the end of her first year or even her second year. Endeavor. But tell me, we all do it for the common good in this, in which you will be with Shoto for a while, maybe you can form. Izumi. Okay I will. Endeavor Shoto. Confused by the green-haired twins' quick response. Endeavor. What are you sure? Izumi. I said yes, and now that I'm getting to know Todoroki-san, I can say that he's the most suitable of all my classmates. Izumi's mind. Plus I prefer this traumatized guy 1,000 times over the firecracker with legs. She thought as she remembered how the girls and she had discovered that Bakugo was in love with her. Something that the green-haired girl obviously disliked, being next to that wild animal who hates her brother, is like hating her. Izumi loves her brother and she can't allow someone like Bakugo to be near him or her. Izumi. Listen Shoto-san, let's try, but at the first bad intention you have with me, be sure that my brother will do something worse to you, that what he did to Bakugo will be seen as child's play. She said in a threatening and angry tone, making the bicolor sweat a little. Endeavor's mind. Well, if he comes to terms with that, he's within his rights. Remembering how the other Midoriya twin destroyed that explosive boy with his fists. Izumi. By the way, will my brother be okay with the heroines Nagant and Ryukyu? Worried about Izuku, as she remembered that he was taken away under threat of being shot by the sniper heroine. Endeavor. You don't have to worry about them, girl. According to what they told me, they already managed to talk to your brother. It seems they get along well. Izumi. Thank goodness. Shoto. The one you have to worry about is Mirko, Dad said she didn't take it well. Izumi. What? With Broccoli and the MILFs duo. We can see our married trio's car parked near an ice cream shop. Lady Nagant. It was a good idea to come here. Eating her cherry and blackberry ice cream. Izuku. She's right, great idea Ryukyu-san. He said happily eating his vanilla and chocolate ice cream. Ryukyu. Thank you, but you didn't need to give me half, I was treating. Remembering how the green-haired man gave him half of his money for what the ice cream cost. Izuku. I know, but I don't feel comfortable that they pay a lot for me. He said with a slight blush of embarrassment at that, literally forcing him to accept his money. Hina. That's nice, but we'll treat you next time, okay? Izuku. It's okay, it's just that I don't like him spending a lot on me, and more so if it's about heroines of his size. He was going to continue speaking, but was again pointed at in the forehead by the purple-haired girl. Izuku. Okay, I'll shut up now. Going back to eating his ice cream while the blonde girl next to him laughed. Hina. You better. Putting away his gun, he starts his ice cream with a smile as if nothing had happened. Izuku's mind. I hope this doesn't become an everyday occurrence. Ryukyu. Well, I think it's time to go. Izuku. Go where? Eating a little, but leaving a small piece of ice cream next to his cheek. Hina. Where do you think? Starting the engine and throwing the ice cream container out the window. Ryukyu. We'll go talk to your parents about the issue. Izuku. Oh right, my parents. Izuku's mind. Dad, when I see you I'll go Feeling something on his cheeks that brought him out of his thoughts, he was able to see what one of Ryukyu's fingers was. Noticing that it was ice cream that had remained on his cheek. Ryukyu. You're thinking about something, right? He said and then licked the ice cream where he had his finger, giving a somewhat erotic scene to the green-haired boy who blushed and looked out the window. Ryukyu's mind. It will be fun to spend time with him, at least I like that he's not a pervert, but I'll feel bad when the time comes when he matures. Smiling and taking out his cell phone to send a message. Hina. Are you going to tell her? He said to start driving and looking in the rearview mirror at the blonde and the green-haired man. The latter still looking out the window with a slight blush. Hina's mind. Ugh, at least I hope that bunny isn't going to come by. This guy is just as obligated as we are, you can even see that he doesn't have bad intentions, as soon as he looks us in the eyes he gets nervous. Ryukyu. I have to tell you kinda, you know she's in on this too. Izuku. I think I'll write my will. He said as he took out his hero notebook from under his jacket and turned to the last pages. Kinda. Oh come on guys, calm down, as long as we're here, nothing will happen to you. Izuku. That's comforting, but I'd better make sure. Searching through his things for his pen, but catching the blonde's attention due to the title of the notebook. Ryukyu. Hero notebooks. Izuku. A. Unable to continue, the heroine quickly grabbed the notebook and began flipping through the pages. But then Izuku who tried to take it, but the heroine only caught it in one of her dragon claws. Ryukyu. Look kinda, it's us. Change of scene. At the Midoriya residence. We can see the hero duo parents of the twins in the broccoli home. They were making tea and tidying up their living room. Inko. How do you think the children took it? He said, placing some sandwiches on the mensa in the center. Hisashi. Well, I hope so. Arranging the cushions on your furniture to take shape. Inko. I just hope they don't do anything crazy. At that moment the door had been knocked, drawing the attention of both parents. Hisashi. Yo bro. At that moment when he opened the door, the first thing he saw was a fist heading towards his face. And a sharp pain that knocked him to the ground and a bruise. Courtesy of her daughter, who came with a grimace of annoyance on her face. Behind her were Endeavor and Shoto, who were surprised by that action. And before they could say anything, they saw how the girl threw herself at her father and began to hit him until a trail of smoke formed where only Izumi's fists could be seen and Hisashi's moans of pain could be heard. Inko. Hey parent. She said trying to stop her daughter from hitting her husband. Quick footsteps could also be heard outside the entrance where the other Midoriya twin could also be seen, along with the heroines. It was barely noticeable that the green-haired man's hair was a little more ruffled than usual. Izuku. What's going on? Watching the scene where his sister hit his dad, the Todoroki in shock at the entrance and his mother trying to explain things. Kinda. Should we help him? Izuku. Nah, dad is tough, I'll hold on, rather what did you do mom? It smells good. He said as he entered his home he ate and headed for the snacks, some cream buns. This made all the guests shed a sweat. What kind of family is this? I thought my family was the weird one. The heroines and the Todoroki thought in different ways. A few moments later. We can now see the Midoriyas sitting on one side and the guests on the other. Hisashi with some handkerchiefs in his nostrils to prevent the blood from coming out caused by the blows from his daughter, in addition to some bruises. Inko looking down because of embarrassment that they saw all this. Izumi looked angrily at her dad while drinking her tea. As for Izuku. Izuku was just eating one of the buns as if it was nothing, after all he had already gotten along with his now wives. Endeavor. Well, I think we can talk more clearly about this now. Seeing the awkward situation the Midoriya family was having. Hisashi. Hey, kids listen, me. Izuku Izumi. We know. They said at the same time, Izumi angrily and Izuku indifferently, continuing. Izumi. And I agree with certain things, but I'm angry that you hit it. Izuku. If it had been certain undesirable people, let me tell you that I would have attacked you too, but at least they are decent and trustworthy people. He said taking another roll and starting to eat it, under the gaze of a smiling Nagant. Well, he did get along well with the boy, because that notebook where he had information about heroes. In addition to well-drawn heroes, he had a pleasant conversation with the boy in the car. Ryukyu. You're right about that, we get along well, we had a nice chat recently. Inko. That's what it means. Kinda. Yes, we're not upset with the guy, it may sound bad, but since we're all involved in this, we just have to try. Endeavor. See Hisashi, I told you it was going to work. Hisashi. Izumi, what do you say? Izumi. In a way I'm fine that he's Todoroki-san, maybe we don't talk much, but in a way I'm happy. Shoto. Well, I'm honored that you are my partner Izumi-san, and as I told you, I promise to be as respectful as possible to you to reach your heart. Izuku. How nice, I hope it is like that Todoroki-san. Smiling but releasing a bit of killer instinct that surprised the adults. But shaking the bicolor and making the green-haired girl smile. Izuku. Because if not, Bakugo will be waiting for you in the infirmary. Making the cream on his bun come out and mash his hand. Izuku. Ah, sorry about that. Izumi just smiled at that and handed him a handkerchief to wipe it off. Endeavor. Well, as you know, in order to ensure the union between the couples, they will be sent to each house where they will live to see how they get closer. Everyone was listening to everything the fire hero was saying, to live together, until the three teenagers managed to reach the age of 19 at least to be able to procreate. And even more so with the topic of Izumi and Shoto, they are barely in their first year at UA, and they don't want either of them to be harmed on their path to becoming a hero. Izuku may not have a problem, but obviously he won't be forced, or maybe he will, to do it quickly with them. The heroines want to take the matter calmly. Expenses will be covered by the court, although this does not fully cover personal expenses, only those for accommodation, service and food. Endeavor. Do you accept? Leaving 2 papers and a pen, where the marriage certificates of both green-haired women were. Izuku Izumi. We accept. They both said they would sign very confidently, and their action was imitated by the bicolor and the heroines. But. At that moment the door of the home flew open due to a kick. A figure that was very well known to everyone was seen, but that put Kaina and Ryukyu on alert. Endeavor, knowing what was coming, stood up with his foot activated in case he took action. Mirko. How do they accept? Izuku's mind. God, receive my soul in your arms. He thought in terror as he saw the last woman he wanted to see in his life. Which had a look full of hate and a very terrifying smile. End of chapter. Chapter 8. What am I doing? Chapter 8. Izuku's mind. How did I end up like this? Watching as the purple-haired woman took the photo with him hugging her. He was now in his new home with his wives, where he would now be living for a while from now. He was now with a sniper on the cabinet in the main room. The dragon was in her room tidying up her things. And the rabbit. She was outside right now, because as expected, she didn't take it well. Flashback. In the Midoriya apartment, a great tension could be felt. Because apart from having the door on the floor with a mark of a kick from the heroine who just arrived. And that was the rabbit heroine Mirko, who was shown to be not at all happy with what she had just heard. Mirko. Talk, how do you accept? Angry and causing the ground to crack a little, scaring the trio of teenagers who were present a little. Izumi even stood behind her brother to use him as a human shield. Izuku, for his part, was shaking like jelly just from seeing the woman. Shoto, for his part, was as still as a statue. He thought that if he moved, it would be like giving the rabbit a signal to attack them. Ryukyu. Okay, calm down first Rumi, we're not on a raid to destroy private property. Hisashi. My door. Seeing how the rabbit destroyed it mercilessly, now he'll have to buy a new one. Endeavor. You should listen to him, Mirko. You're not acting like a hero, much less like a civilized person. The fire hero said, raising his temperature a little to make it clear that he was serious. Aina for her part just sighed and put away her rifle, giving a light knock to get Ryuko's attention. Which he understood, but he didn't lose his gaze towards the rabbit, who just stood next to Endeavor. Aina. You can rest assured, nothing will happen. Izuku Izumi. His look says otherwise. They said seeing the rabbit's gaze, but more Izuku that I swear those red eyes turned into flames. Inko. I'll go get some more tea. A little more reassured that there isn't a fight in the middle of her living room. Though Hisashi on the other hand, still stared in shock at his destroyed entrance, though being brought back to reality by Endeavor who coughed a little. Taking a seat now next to his children, who were still looking at the rabbit woman in fear. Shoto. Dad, I think it will be you who will speak, I will take the Midoriyas or the heroine Mirko will kill them. Whispering to his father, who got the idea and knew that with the green-haired boy and the rabbit heroine in the same place, it was dangerous. Shoto. Hey Izumi, you told me you had a console, how about we play while they talk? Hisashi. That would be perfect, children, go with Shoto, we will try to calm things down here. Izuku. Yeah, it's okay Dad. Izumi. UUPRI first little brother. So they both got up, Izumi still using Izuku as a human shield, they quickly went to the girls' room, with Shoto behind them. Locking the door behind them in case of emergency. Shoto. Well, what are you doing while the war is going on outside? Izuku. I know the way, Izumi, take it out. Izumi. Right away. Heading to his shelf and searching through his things for a legendary disc for the consoles. Shoto. Is that it? Izuku. That's right Shoto. In Izumi's hands was the greatest game in the history of mankind. Izumi. El Budokai Tenkaichi 3. Shoto. Finally, a worthy game, our controls will be destroyed. In the room with the heroes. Mirko. Let's see, what is this that you accepted? You had already talked about this before. Looking at her friends who were very calm, even Ryukyu was drinking tea with her pinky raised. Ryuko. Rumi, since we went to the festival, we decided to go and see if it was what we really thought. Aina. But it seems you didn't care what we said and went off to kick some ass. Taking a sip of the tea he had in his cup and leaving it on the table. Hisashi. Even Izumi accepted the proposal. Inko's mind. Although he hit you a few times first. Remembering how her daughter barely arrived home, the first thing she did was give a spear to her father along with her brother. Mirko. Likewise, I won't accept a brat as a partner. I speak to make clear your intention with the commitment. Endeavor. Well, that's a shame. You were already in agreement when you were a child and the boy already accepted. Mirko. Screw it, I won't do anything to that dwarf anyway. Ryuko. You should calm down, Rumi. Kinda. If you would just talk a little. Mirko. And shit, do they fall for this nonsense so quickly? Ryuko. We know it's nonsense for our families. Kinda. Even he didn't agree with this, we had a brief conversation and came to an agreement. Endeavor. At least they had the decency to do it. Mirko. Do what you want, but don't count on me. Getting up to leave the house with great annoyance, despite the fact that she was already on the contract that tied her to them. Endeavor. God, she was always stubborn. Leaving a big sigh throughout the bunny show. Inko. It's good that we have insurance. Seeing his entrance and part of his apartment destroyed by the woman who came out. Ryukyu. We are truly sorry for our friend's behavior. Price. God. Rubbing his temple with some anger at everything he did, he knew he would have to have a long talk. Inko. It doesn't matter, the good thing is that no one got hurt. End of the flashback. After everything that happened, Izumi and Izuku left with their respective partners to their new homes. The twins' parents told them they would send them their things this week. For now they would have to wait with what they have, the heroines for their part already had their things ready, their influence could be useful to accelerate their things. Hina. Tell me boy, how do you feel? She said, putting away her phone and seeing the green-haired man who looked at her, confused. Izuku. Well, I don't know what to say, all this was so sudden. Looking out the window as night fell, it was a great day. Hina. You're right, not only did you win the sports festival, now you have a beautiful heroine as a wife, it must be a big surprise. He said and then took the boy by the neck, who still wasn't used to a woman giving him that kind of affection due to his past as a quirk. Much less of a woman as beautiful as Lady Nagant. Hina. Tell me Izuku, I can tell you Izuku right. Izuku. CL of course it can be Nagant-san. Hina. Oh come on, you can call me Kaina-chan, now we are husbands. Giving him a light peck on his cheek with his finger. Izuku. Boopy well Kaina-chan, what do you want to ask me? Hina. Is this your first time having a partner? He said, still playing with the green-haired boy's cheek but seeing his freckles more. Izuku. Well, yes, I never had the opportunity to have one. Hina. I see, in that case, I'll show you the benefits of having one. Slowly approaching the green-haired man's face, which was like a ripe tomato. He didn't know what to do, pushing her away would be very rude of her and she might point her quirk at him again. And if he accepted, he didn't know how to accept, if he did something stupid he would be made to look ridiculous. My nerves and my thoughts of not making a mistake were racing. Cough cough. The two looked up to meet the gaze of a Ryuko already changed into more comfortable clothes. Ryuko. Hey Kaina, don't you think you're going too far? Seeing how the green-haired boy was about to collapse from nerves. Kaina. Come on Ryuko, it's funny when he gets like this. Taking his seat again, he let the green-haired boy breathe as he was about to lose his temper. Ryuko. I think it would be better to sleep, today was a very hectic day. Izuku. I think you're right. Izuku's mind. Thank you Tatsuma-san. Kaina. Well, what can you do, good night, darling. Taking the green-haired boy by surprise and giving him a kiss near his lips. Kaina. See you tomorrow. Smiling and heading to his room, leaving Izuku holding the place where he was kissed by the sniper. Ryuko. See you tomorrow, maybe we can talk more calmly. Izuku. Yes, see you tomorrow. Turning to leave, but feeling a hand on his shoulder. Ryuko. You don't have to take things too seriously, let's take it easy, okay? Izuku. Thank you for understanding, Tatsuma-san. The blonde smiled and then gave her a light hug, being able to feel a pleasant and warm warmth. Ryuko. I am your wife now, please call me Ryuko. Izuku. Está bien, Ryuko-chan. And that's how our favorite trio managed to get along and finally conclude their first day as husband and wife. Although only one of them couldn't get along with the broccoli with legs. He didn't even want to exchange words with him. Let's hope our green-haired boy can find a way to get along or at least come out unscathed against the rabbit. End of chapter. Chapter 9. What am I doing? Chapter 9. The sunlight was beginning to rise and marked the start of another beautiful day to do many things. One of the cases being our favorite green-haired guy who was just getting up. He barely opened his eyes and was confused to see a different atmosphere than what he was used to in his room full of All Might and hero stuff. No. It wasn't his room, he realized that once he saw the whole room. Realizing and understanding that he was no longer in his home, but now in his new house, now living with his wives, being the heroines he admired. He didn't know if he could call himself lucky or with a luck that's on the rocks. Because apart from being with two wonderful and understanding heroines, he also had the most brutal and violent heroine in the history of heroism. Taking the first thing that was his phone to see if he had a notification. Izuku. It's barely 6. Rubbing his eyes and noticing that he had an email coming from the nail. Dear students, after the sports festival, we've decided to give you the rest of the day to rest. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a nice day. Izuku's mind. So I have all day, heh, and I'm already putting on my pants. He said, pulling back up the pants he was still wearing and stretching a few times to listen to his bones and see the ceiling of his room now. Izuku. I think I'll take advantage of the opportunity to make breakfast, will they have left? Heading to his door to see the hallway that led to the living room, but noticing that there were also 3 other rooms, each one belonging to his wife respectively. He started walking down the hall to get to the kitchen, but he could notice how one room was half open. Just out of curiosity, he took a quick look and noticed that it was Kaina's room, where she was still asleep. Having a strange way of sleeping. Well, he was standing with one foot outside the sheets and at the edge of the bed, one of his hands on top of his torso and the other hand on top of his head. The sheets only managed to cover one of her legs, which was still in the bed. Izuku's mind. And I thought Izumi was the only one sleeping like that. Laughing a little at the way the sniper is sleeping, but managing to confirm that his wives are here. Wanting to give a nice touch so they can go to work with a good breakfast. Izuku's mind. I detailed endeavor sent to fill the fridge with what is necessary. Taking out everything necessary to have a good breakfast for him and his wives. Izuku's mind. Thank you mom for teaching me how to cook and my sister for being so greedy and me having to cook for her. Remembering all the times he had to cook for Izumi or himself, even more so for his sister who was a bit of a glutton. Starting to cook and taking his time for them to wake up, after all, he was in no hurry. In addition to remembering that one of them is her own boss at her agency. Change of scene. An hour later. With a knife. The purple-haired girl, who snored as if with some drool coming out of her mouth. He began to show signs of waking up as his nose could detect a very peculiar smell. It was delicious. When the full scent entered his nostrils, he opened his eyes with a start and got out of bed. Kinda. Gosh, Ryuko sure knows how to cheer people up with her breakfasts. Believing that her friend is responsible for the smell coming from the kitchen. Having only a sleeveless shirt and shorts as clothing, both black. Completely carefree in her way of dressing, but before putting on her purple slippers. She remembered that she is now married and living with a green-haired boy, very nervous and funny in her opinion. She knew that if she went to meet the green-haired man dressed like that, she could knock him out with her beauty. But to avoid Ryuko's reprimands, she decided to take her purple robe and leave her room. Ryuko. Kinda. The purple-haired girl fixed her gaze on her friend who was also coming out of her room, also wearing pajamas like her. Kinda. Ryuko, what are you doing? Ryuko. Well, just like you, I just woke up. He said being in the same way, but with a robe, only your robe was red. Kinda. So it's not you who cooks, then who? Ryuko. What do you think? Referring to the other room that was next to hers and out of sheer curiosity. They opened the door to find no one there, the room was empty just as it had been yesterday. Kinda. It seems she hasn't come yet. Ryuko. She's just as stubborn as ever. Kinda. So if you're here, who's cooking? Ryuko. Will it be him? Seeing in the distance how the door where the green-haired man slept was open and he was the only one who didn't come out. They both didn't think much and went to the kitchen, only to find breakfast on the table. Not only did it look delicious, the smell was also a delight. Izuku. Good morning. He said arriving with 2 cups of coffee with milk on the table. The green-haired man was wearing a black apron, underneath his typical clothing, a white short-sleeved shirt and black shorts, with his typical red shoes. Ryuko. Good morning. Kinda. You did all this? Seeing and smelling the breakfast that was on the table. Izuku. Well, Izumi or I always make our breakfast should from time to time, mom and dad return tired from their work. Leaving the cups on the table, but then being caught in a hug by the purple-haired girl. Kinda. I'm lucky you never had a girlfriend, I won the lottery with you. Izuku. Eh? Being red from the sudden action of the woman who caught him in a hug and could feel the woman's breasts on his chin. Ryuko. Kinda, leave him, you're going to make him faint. Kinda. Heh sorry. Izuku. Well, since you have to go to work, at least you could eat in peace. Ryuko. Thanks for the detail Izuku-san, it looks delicious. Kinda. Thanks for the food. So the 3 of them sat at the table to try the green-haired man's food. Feeling how delicious the boy was, they were now glad that the arranged marriage had been made. Ryuko. Tell me Izuku, don't you have to go to the academy today? Izuku. They just gave notice, they told me I have the day off to rest from yesterday's festival. Taking a sip of his coffee with great calm in his being. Kinda. What luck, we have to work. Ryuko. Okay, but later we can make a plan to get to know each other better. Izuku. It's fine by me. Kinda. Do you have plans today? Eating some rice with fried egg. Izuku. Well, since I don't have an academy today, I plan to go train. Knowing he had nothing to do today, he thought about going to the academy alone to see his normal day as usual. But now he had to think about making room in his schedule. Ryuko. I suggest you be careful out there. Izuku. Why do you say that? Kinda. That annoying rabbit is still out there, she'll surely try something, knowing her well she'll look for you. Izuku's mind. And I thought Bakugo would be annoying. Izuku. But she won't attack a civilian just like that, right? Both women looked at each other worriedly, as they knew that the rabbit is capable of anything, especially with her status as a top hero. Kinda. I'll just tell you, home is the safest place. Ryuko. Nobody dies in their own home, right? Izuku's mind. Oh, shit. Change of scene. It was already 11 in the morning, Ryukyu and Nagant had already left to do their work as usual. Izuku for his part, despite knowing that she was a super hot bunny who could break walls with a kick. He went out to train. With Izuku. This one was located near the beach where they had been cleaning up the entire garbage dump. Enjoying a bit of the sea breeze and the sand touching her bare feet. Izuku. How warm. I'm sorry for the delay, young Midoriya. The green-haired man turned around to see what his mentor had come. Izuku. No problem, I just got here too. Smiling and giving his mentor his usual smile. All Might. I'm sorry I didn't call you yesterday, young Midoriya. I was a bit busy. Izuku. Don't worry, I understand that you're busy, after all, you're number one. All Might. Yesterday I wanted to invite you to celebrate your victory at the festival, tell me, would you like to eat out? Before he could answer he could see something in the sky and activating the rays of One for All, he took All Might and moved from the place. Feeling a slight tremor and the sand falling on top of them. Izuku. What the hell is wrong with you, have you gone crazy? Seeing the person responsible for the attack with anger because not only did she almost hit him but also his mentor per second father. Behind the smoke of the sand, the person responsible was seen. Mirko. So you're not so slow, dwarf. The green-haired man stood up in case of a fight because it's one thing to mess with him, but to involve someone else in his problems was already crossing the line. Mirko. So you have the guts to fight, well now. Now what? They both turned around to see through the smoke a figure that overshadowed Izuku. All Might. What the hell does this mean, Mirko? End of the chapter. Chapter 10. What am I what? Chapter 10. The atmosphere on the beach was too tense for the green-haired man who found himself in the middle of the whole problem. Well, on one side was Mirko, the rabbit heroine, the only one of his wives who did not agree to be in this commitment, just like him. And the only one of the three who didn't even try to talk to get along, of course not. The first thing she did as soon as she found out about the whole engagement was go home, kick down her door and scream like a crazy feminist on March 8. I would even swear that her gaze was killing him over and over again. On the other side, there is his teacher per second father figure in his muscular form, and he was visibly annoyed by the sudden appearance and attack of the rabbit. I could even swear his fist was veined with anger from the sudden attack. Izuku's mind. This shit caught fire. All Might. Hey question, what the hell does this mean, Mirko? He asked without his usual smile, because seeing the place where the attack was, it was clear that it was not a simple blow of prank or scare, it was with the intention of hurting one of the two 100%. Mirko. All Might, what are you doing here? I ask a little seriously in the presence of the number one hero, and a little tense because of his angry expression. All Might. Don't change the subject, Mirko, what were you planning to do with that kind of attack? Izuku's mind. This is bad, the last time I saw him this angry, it was at Uji's, against that Nomu. Humming to his memory when the blonde sent the Nomu flying with a super punch with all his strength. Imagining the scene, but with Mirko instead of the Nomu. Izuku's mind. Is he going to kill her? All Might. So, are you going to talk or not? He spoke with such a strong and imposing tone that it even made Izuku tremble in fear. Mirko. TSK, I was just watching the reflections of the winner of the sports festival. All Might. Really? Well, it seems to me that you attacked him on purpose, me and my student. Mirko. Student. Izuku's mind. I better intervene before this gets out of control. Getting in the middle of both of them, he managed to at least calm All Might down a little. Izuku. All Might sensei, you better not compromise. Mirko. What sensei? Izuku. That doesn't matter to you, you better leave before things get worse. All Might. But young Midoriya. Izuku. Come on sensei, don't get involved, no one was hurt. The hero saw the look on his student's face, he knew that he didn't want to fight the hero. Izuku. It's no use fighting, sensei, much less with her. Turning to look at her with an angry and serious expression. Even though she knew she was the one who started it, a fight between the two heroes was unnecessary because of a stupid tantrum. All Might. Sigh, okay young Midoriya, but this won't go unpunished Mirko, we'll talk later, now go. Giving one last scream and stomping hard, the sand moved around. Mirko. We'll see each other soon. Turning around to prepare for a jump. Izuku. As if I wanted to see you after all this. He said in an overly annoyed tone, only being able to watch as the rabbit left the place with a great leap. The rabbit could be impulsive, a lover of violence and combat, but she knew where to set her limits. An almighty showdown was far from his fantasies. And now that she knew that the boy she was engaged to was a student of the #1 hero, she didn't know how to take it. All Might. Young Midoriya, do you have something to tell me? Izuku. Well, I'll tell him, but please promise to keep it a secret. Clasping his palms together, he watched his sensei return to his skeletal form. All Might. It would be better to leave young, I doubt anyone will come after all the fuss we made. Seeing the place where he was standing and the crater that the stomp made. Change of scene. Now we can see the teacher and student duo in a cafe. Having Izuku as always a plate of katsudon and All Might a double meat burger. All Might. Well, I'm all ears young Midoriya, tell me calmly. They were at the farthest part of the place and since it was a weekday, there weren't many people around. Izuku. Finishing eating his pork, well, you could say that it's a good thing and a bad thing, depending on how you look at it. The blonde just nodded as he ate a piece of his burger. Izuku began to explain the topic of his now engagement to the rabbit and the other two heroines, who unlike the first, were cool with him. Avoiding talking about the court issue, as it was a secret topic that had to be hidden. And now that he was living with them in a different house, he even showed her the photo he took with the sniper heroine. Izuku. And now more things are like that. The blonde kept eating his hamburger the whole time, but while he was listening to everything, he didn't realize he was even eating his napkin. Izuku. All Might. Seeing that his mentor was still eating his napkin, he didn't even notice that he no longer had his burger. Izuku. All Might. The blonde had already finished the napkin until he came to because he bit his fingers. Izuku. Gee. Laughing a little as All Might came back to his senses. All Might. Well, young Midoriya, let me ask you something, and I want you to be completely honest with me. Izuku. It's okay. All Might. Tell me, are you completely on board with arranged marriages? You're too young to be thinking about that stuff. Worried that something might happen to her student, he already knew Ryukyu and Lady Nagant and had nothing to fear, and he heard how they got along with his protege, but what worried him most was Mirko. She had a reputation for being extremely violent with everyone around her, and her student was not in the rabbit's expectations. Since she even stated in an interview that her partner should be stronger than her. Scratching all that nonsense about her and Hawks being something, they were just friends since the academy. Even the winged hero said that if he were her partner, he wouldn't be alive on the streets and that he felt sorry for anyone who has the opportunity to continue flirting with him. Izuku. I agree with it All Might-san, Tatsuma-san, Satsumi-san and I have agreed to get along so that this works without rushing and so that it is not uncomfortable for anyone. The blonde could only smile at his student's response, he knew he could do anything he set his mind to. He had already proven it at the moment he could use the quirk of floating, the handling of using the OFA in his confrontation at the sports festival, and his great victory in it. All Might. Well, I won't worry, I trust your words young Midoriya. All Might mind. Although it might be better to be aware. Somewhat afraid that his student will go to a hospital as a mummy. Izuku. Thanks All Might. Change of scene. Now we can see the green-haired man walking through the streets, returning to his new home. Since he had received a message from his mother that his things had already been taken. It was only his job to arrange them as he liked. Izuku's mind. How lucky they are that they are working, otherwise they would already be telling me about my All Might stuff, although I think I should leave it aside a bit so they don't see me weird. Remembering how his room was with all the All Might stuff. Knowing that he would now be living with two women and he didn't want to leave a bad impression with his room. Izuku's mind. Should I leave them some bentos? He thought as he entered the house and knew that they would arrive late before nightfall. Wondering if she should cook something for them when they get back, they liked her breakfast after all. He even kinda tried to steal some of Ryuko's portion. Once he entered his home, he went to his living room to find a scene that would not be possible. Mirko. There were supposedly only 10 of this figure, how did you get it? Izuku. Mirko. Huh. That's right, Mirko was looking at Izuku's stuff right now and in his hands was a limited edition All Might figure from its early days, which was hard to find. Izuku. What do you think you're doing here? Mirko. What am I doing here? I live here, right? Izuku. You weren't supposed to disagree and I thought I was clear after your little act on the beach. He said as he floated over to his things and closed the suitcase that held his things. Still looking angrily at the rabbit, who didn't seem to care and continued with her attitude. Mirko. What can I say, I have nothing better to do. Watching as the figure he was holding was abruptly pulled out of his hand. Izuku. Do what you want, I don't care, just don't destroy anything. Mirko. At least you understand the situation. Angry and watching how the green-haired man headed to his room with his things, without even looking at her. Closing the door tightly and locking it, leaving the rabbit alone in the living room. The kill time I grabbed the remote control for the living room TV and the news just came on. In other news, we bid farewell to a great hero who, thankfully, is still alive but unable to return to the world of heroism. Ingenum will always live on in the hearts of the people. Reports in Hosu say that he was the hero killer. Mirko. God, how boring, is there nothing better to watch? But the green-haired one. He was currently sorting and putting away some of All Might's things. Izuku. I can't believe it, after everything he did, first at my house, at the beach and now with my things, I already found someone more annoying than Bakugo. Trouble in love 9th. Izuku. Eh? The green-haired boy looked at the door and around his room, but he didn't find anyone. Izuku. I'm already going crazy with so much stress. Angry as he packed his clothes and left some poles in his suitcase. He was really so disappointed in the bunny, he knew she was a bit rude, but to get to that point. Sometimes your heroes let you down. This time, a different voice than the first was the one that spoke. Izuku. Whoever you are, you're right. Change of scene. Now we can see the green-haired boy cooking, since there were only 20 minutes left until Ryukyu and Nagant could return. Behind him had appeared the rabbit heroine in civilian clothes. He managed to notice her when he heard her footsteps. Izuku. If you want to eat with us you are free, if not, there is a bento there. Without turning to look at her to continue cooking. Mirko didn't say anything, he just accepted the green-haired man's request and took a bento. The smell had caught his attention and it looked appetizing, taking what the green-haired man said, he grabbed a bento and took a bite. Once he was served, he went to his room before his roommates arrived. They didn't speak to each other, the atmosphere between them was very tedious. But there was no need to spoil the rest of the day. I had to welcome the two women who were returning from their hard work. Izuku. I hope you like dinner. At that moment the door was heard and seeing that it was them. Izuku. Welcome home, dinner is ready. End of chapter. Chapter 11. What am I what? Chapter 11. Izuku's mind. And that the weather report said it would be sunny. He thought as he covered himself with an umbrella he was holding, about to reach the doors of the academy. After making some bento breakfast for himself and his wives, he took his time heading to the academy. He even made one for Mirko, even though they had a bad relationship, he wasn't so bad-hearted as to not give food to someone. Among those people I included Mirko. Unaware that many people would get in his way, as they congratulated him on his participation in the sports festival and being the winner. Although, of course, there was always a vulture who would tell him that he had crossed a line in his last confrontation. Although of course, he didn't stay silent either, saying that Bakugo crossed the line with his sister and that he had no forgiveness for overstepping his bounds in such a way. Shutting the mouths of all those idiots. Izuku's mind. Has Izumi arrived yet? He thought as he watched some students at the entrance taking off their raincoats and others putting away their umbrellas. Midoriya-san. A familiar voice came from behind him and he could see that it was Lita who was running up in her green raincoat. Izuku. Lita-san. Watching the blue-haired boy walk past him. Lita. You're running late. Izuku. Late. There are still 5 minutes until the bell rings. Lita. UA students must arrive 10 minutes early. Quickly entering and moving around a bit to get rid of some of the water that was on him. Followed by the green-haired man who shook his umbrella and then placed it next to others. Izuku. Hey Lita, about the. Lita. If it's because of my brother, don't worry, I'm so sorry for worrying you so much. Taking off the raincoat and boots he had put on. Izuku. If you say so. Starting to walk alongside the blue-haired boy to the classroom. Lita. And your sister Midoriya-san. It's weird seeing you come without her. Izuku. Ah, I fell asleep and the damn thing left without me. Lying to his friend, since he couldn't say that he and his sister were now living with their partners. Lita. I see, it must be hard for your sister to be like that with you. Izuku. Heh, she can be a nuisance, but I put up with it because she's my sister. He had to admit that his sister could sometimes be a pain in the ass, but not as much as Bakugo or Mirko, at least she knew what she was doing and knew what limits she couldn't cross. Once they arrived at the classroom, they saw that all their classmates were there. Talking and saying that thanks to the festival, they are now somewhat well known. Receiving some congratulations from the public he met along the way, others like Zero said, "Don't worry," due to his crushing defeat against the bicolor. And speaking of this one, well, he was in his place with his face against the table, he seemed to be sleeping. Her sister was in her place talking to the other girls at the festival. She seemed to be as happy as ever, something that always characterized her. "Uraraka. Lita-san, Deku-kun," he said watching his friends coming in and leaving their things there. "Izuku. Uraraka-san. Lita. Good morning Uraraka." At that, the green-haired girl approached to give her twin a light hug. "Izumi. How are you little brother, how was your morning?" Smiling as he watched his brother throw him a grimace of disgust. "Izuku. My face tells you so, don't you think? But it seems like you're very happy this morning." Seeing a bicolor that was still with its face against the table, it seemed to be sleeping in everyone's eyes. "Izuku. You weren't rude to him, were you?" Whispering so only she can hear it. "Izumi. Don't worry, I wasn't mean, I just made it clear who's in charge." Smiling at his brother, who just laughed a little, now feeling a little sorry for Todoroki. But everyone, upon hearing the door begin to open, quickly took their seats. "Izawa. Good morning." "Good morning Izawa-sensei." They all said, already in their seats, even Todoroki already had his face raised. "Sai. Izawa no longer has bandages, I'm very glad." "Izawa. Yes," the old woman rushed into the treatment. Giving a view to all his students, calling his attention Bakugo, who had a scar in the middle of his nose, and seeing the green-haired brother duo. Izawa's mind. Maybe Bakugo deserved a few hits for the acts of brutality he did against Izumi-san, but the way Izuku-san behaved, it was like seeing myself for the former endeavor. Seeing the head of that Izuku again, who had no mercy, broke his nose, ribs and if it weren't for him stopping, his skull would have had serious fractures. "Izawa. Okay, let's talk about an important computer class." Making everyone very tense, because knowing Izawa, I knew this could be very tense and stressful. "Izawa. Their codenames, they will choose their hero names today. We'll do something exciting." They all shouted at the news that it would be something normal, but fell silent when they saw how Izawa activated his quirk again. "Izawa. This will be an important cause where it will be of utmost importance in the internships I told you about before the sports festival." While the mother caterpillar explained to her little offspring about the subject of internships and the importance they will have on their academic and heroic records. We go for a while to a certain dragon heroine's agency. Which was now in her office next to a certain purple-haired girl who was drinking some tea. "Kinda. So you only know that." Watching the blonde who was doing some reports on her computer. "Ryukyu. It's the least I could get out of Rumi when I managed to corner her in her room while you played with Izuku-san's nervousness." Remembering how the purple-haired girl started to make the green-haired boy nervous since she had caught him in a hug after dinner. "Kinda. Oh come on, you can't deny that he's cute when he gets like that, it just gives me hints to do it again and again." Smiling mockingly, truly when she made Izuku nervous, she simply wanted to corrupt him. But receiving a serious look from the blonde, which made him laugh slightly. "Ryukyu. You're a case in point." She also wanted to spend time with the green-haired man, but they agreed to take things slowly, but of course, Kinda was the only one for whom that thing wouldn't happen. You would like to be able to have that kind of affection with a green-haired man from time to time, without obviously going too far. Kinda. So Rumi and he have their distances. Ryukyu. According to what she said, he and All Might have a kind of teacher and student relationship, she just didn't know how to take that. Kinda. She saw him as simply weak and stupid as any man in her eyes. Ryukyu. In addition to mentioning how Izuku confronted her when he saw her things that arrived yesterday. Kinda. Really? And the first time she saw her she trembled like her sister. Ryukyu. It seems that the boy has his facets from time to time, but now they are tense with him. Kinda. Let me guess, they can't stand each other or even talk to each other, they only put up with each other because of marriage. Ryukyu. You're right, but she seemed a little. Kinda. Sorry. Even if she is, she asked for it Ryuko, at least if she and Izuku talk seriously things won't get better. She knew it was impossible, Rumi was too proud to admit her mistake and Izuku, maybe he can be good people with her, but even the good one can't stand someone who doesn't accept his kindness and responds with hostility. Kinda. Changing the subject, the internship is coming up, will your student come? Ryukyu. Najira always comes to me when these internship days come. Kinda. Not to be annoying, but sometimes her attitude is very suffocating for me. Ryukyu. For you maybe, but for me she seems tender, her great enthusiasm is what characterizes her, maybe she and Izuku can get along. An image of Izuku and Najira talking together came to him. Kinda. You're not planning on sending a request to Izuku, look, maybe we can spend more time. Ryukyu. I sent him, but he probably has a lot of internship invitations. Kinda. It must be, he was the winner of the festival and showed some control of his quirk despite a few fingers. Remembering the image of the green-haired man's broken fingers during the final phase. With Izuku. We can now see the green-haired boy with his blonde-haired teacher. Izuku. What are you saying, All Might? Does your teacher want me to go with him? Surprising that his favorite hero's former mentor wants to meet him. All Might. He was very close to my young predecessor Midoriya, he was even a teacher for a year at the UA when I was a student. Izuku. That's amazing. All Might. Hear that you had many offers, you were the second highest. Izuku. Yes, Todoroki-san had more than me, but he says that a lot of it is probably because of his father. All Might. You're right, but what are you saying, do you want to go with my old teacher? The green-haired man thought for a moment because the truth is that he did receive many offers. Among them was even the Ryukyu agency was among them all. But training with a man who trained his idol was an opportunity he couldn't pass up. Izuku. Could you give me time to think about it, sensei? The truth is there are many, but I'm not rejecting the offer. He said, moving his hands to show that his intentions were not bad. All Might. Of course, young Midoriya, you have the whole weekend to think, on top of that, you're married, it could be a bit hard, so I'm not going to pressure you. Izuku. Thank you for understanding, sensei. Change of scene. Now we can see the green-haired boy with his sister, Achako and Todoroki. The four of them were heading to the train station talking to each other. Uraraka. Lita-kun left before us. Izumi. He must have gone to see his brother, I wouldn't like to imagine the same thing happening to me. He said to jump and be on top of Izuku, who complained about the weight. Izuku. Thanks for worrying, but come down, did you gain a few pounds or what? Receiving a blow from his sister that left him with a bump. Shoto. Have you already decided which one you will go to? Izuku. I still have doubts, but I have 2 days to think. Izumi. I plan to go with Endeavor, I need help improving my fire skills. Izuku's mind. It's probably so you can meet your mother-in-law. Thinking mockingly of his sister when he learned more of her true intentions as to why she chose Endeavor. Uraraka. I plan to go with Gunhead. Izuku. The hero who specializes in combat. Shoto. I thought you were going with 13. Uraraka. The fight against Bakugo left me thinking about a lot of things, I need to improve my fighting style. Izumi. Now that you mention it, don't you think he's been very quiet if we don't count his hero name? Uraraka. Maybe Izuku-kun gave him a severe beating that reset his brain. Izumi. Maybe. Time skip. 2 days later. At the train station, the entire Class A was separating after hearing a few words of suggestions from their sensei. Izuku's mind. Here I go, great Torino, I hope the training is worth it, yesterday they really went too far. Remembering how Ryukyu caught him in a lock, his hands around his neck near his breasts. When I mentioned to him that I wouldn't be going to his agency. Kinda, she was just laughing at the situation. Mirko, for her part, was not there alone. She remained outside and re-recorded later after everything had calmed down. Continuing with the great tension between her and Izuku, without speaking, but the green-haired man continuing to give her food for dinner. Izuku's mind. What kind of person will Gran Torino be? Will he be as terrifying as All Might says? Remembering how his mentor trembled in fear when he mentioned his name. Change of scene. Izuku. He's dead. Gran Torino. I'm alive. Izuku. He's Olivier. Yep, it's going to be a long week for the green-haired guy. End of chapter. Chapter 12. What am I what? Chapter 12. Izuku's mind. I'm exhausted. The green-haired man thought, breathing heavily while in front of him was Gina Torino, who was looking at him with a slight smile. Gran Torino. You've made great progress, kid. Even though you've already had some progress on the OFA, as I saw at the sports festival, you can now use it better all over your body without suffering fractures. You really are ingenious. To think you lost your mind when you said you look like a Todoroki. Laughing a little at that occasion, the green-haired boy was standing up again, catching his breath from the training. Izuku. It's true, it's just that on that occasion, I didn't think much about what happened to my body in the OFA, I attacked without thinking. Gran Torino. It's true, seeing your sister hurt made you increase your 1 for all percentage, it was surely anger or adrenaline that didn't make you feel that pain or muscle compression, tell me, did you suffer pain after that? The green-haired boy just laughed a little at that question, since no one knows that he took his time in the locker room to scream in pain, he was very lucky that Shinso was distracted with his manga and didn't hear him. Gran Torino. Okay, kid, take a break for now. We'll have lunch and then we'll go on patrol. Izuku. Patrol. Do you think I'm ready? Getting up with his breath recovered, but now wiping away the sweat and the little blood he had from the blows of the veteran hero. Gran Torino. You're somewhat ready, but you won't improve if you keep fighting only me, not all your enemies will be the same. Listening to the door and turning around to open it. Izuku's mind. He's right, if I focus on a single training with the same opponent, I'll only stagnate. Torino. Well, I'm putting lunch on plates, do you mind if you go get the soda? Izuku. Sure, no problem. Leaving the place to go to the nearest store in the area to get the Coke. It had only been 2 days since he started his internship with a veteran hero. And he did nothing but train and get his new full cowl fighting style. Now he could fight without risking breaking his bones again. So far, he's had a good time with the veteran hero, although of course, he occasionally gets carried away when he forgets his name or how his microwave broke. But let's see how the green-haired man's heroines' wives are now. At the Ryukyu agency. Right now the trio of heroines could be seen in the dragon heroine's office. Ryukyu. 17 heroes killed this season. Looking at the latest reports from the hero killer, among those 17 heroes, 3 of them were from his agency. Hina. And 23 with lifelong injuries, they will never become heroes again, the physical and psychological injuries were serious as they say. Checking the news on his phone about what happened to the murderer. Heroes like Ingenium were seriously injured, having to retire permanently. The bunny heroine was eating a carrot, sitting in a chair listening to everything, wearing a leather jacket over her hero suit. Mirko. I think I'll go there. He said, taking a bite of his carrot and putting his feet on the ground. Being seen by her friends who were surprised, although their surprise quickly passed, they knew that she would only look to fight against someone strong. Ryukyu. Are you sure about that? You know you still have a lot to do around here. Mirko. Let the others take care of that. Getting up from his chair to head for the door. Hina. Hey, are you thinking about what we talked about? Stopping the rabbit for a few moments. Mirko. On the subject of the boy and All Might. Turning around to see the heroine duo. Since Izuku left for his internship, they had some talks on the subject of marriage. Which almost ended in an argument and a fight between the rabbit and the sniper, if it weren't for the dragon who calmed things down. And in the midst of all the discussion, Mirko brought up the subject that the boy has a teacher-student relationship with All Might. Mirko. I don't know much about the subject, I can only know that they are close, even outside the UA. Ryukyu. We'll have to discuss that with Izuku when I get back, but what about you? Have you calmed down on the subject? The hatred between you is really noticeable. Hina. Well, of course it will be like that, who wouldn't be upset about such an impression in their house, I'm still surprised that he left some food. Remembering how Izuku always left a bento or plate of food for Mirko, since she didn't eat dinner with him. Mirko. Anyway, it's just for family benefit. He said, opening the door about to leave. Ryukyu. That's it, oh you're really sorry about what happened now. The rabbit didn't say anything and just left the place towards Hosu, leaving the two behind. Hina. I highly doubt that's it, Ryukyu, sometimes you're just too good. Heaving a deep sigh as he smoothed his hair, he stood up to look out the window at the streets, feeling the wind on his face to calm him down. Ryukyu. She only shows what everyone wants to see, and you know it. Hina. I know it well, but progress can be irritating, even knowing that we know about it, she still acts crazy, uff. A little angry at the blonde's failed attempt to calm her down, but more so at the rabbit. Ryukyu. Look, what do you think if we go to lunch and calm down, do you think? He said to get up and stand next to the purple-haired girl and put his hand on her shoulder. Hina. You beat me with that one, come on, although I say I miss the dwarf's food. He said as he walked with the blonde to the exit door. Ryukyu. You're right about that, but we have to survive without tasting that homemade delicacy. Entering the elevator with the purple-haired girl and pressing the button to take her to the first floor. Hina. How do you think he's doing? Ryukyu. Maybe he's training hard, you have to admit he's trying really hard. Hina. I'll send him a message, see if he has time. Taking his phone and looking for the contact he had for the green-haired man. Ryukyu. Do you have it as Green Bunny? Hina. What? Didn't you see her hero suit? With the hood she looks like one. Ryukyu. I'm with you. With Mirko. We can see the rabbit jumping between buildings to head home for civilian clothes. Mirko's mind. Maybe they're a little right, maybe talking to the brat will take this weight off my shoulders. The proud rabbit didn't want to admit, but her mistake was now eating away at her. She had to admit that the boy also has a character that could be compared to hers when she was younger. Mirko's mind. He can be quite impressive when he wants to be. She thought as she remembered how that day she picked up the limited edition All Might figure, that look he gave her took her by surprise. After all, the first thing she saw was him trembling when she went to his house. Mirko. I hope this stain is worth it, at least it gives me a little distraction. Arriving home and entering to go to his room, looking for what he needs to be out. Change of scene. Inside a bar, a rather peculiar scene could be seen. Well, in the bar you could see Kurogiri, barely standing, because he had a cut. And on the ground was Tamura Shigaraki, the person responsible for the USJ attack, being subdued by the hero killer Stain, the latter having a knife stuck in the sky blue-haired man's shoulder. Stain. You have an empty motivation, boy, destruction of the entire society, it's nonsense, we don't have different visions, so I doubt we can work together. Shigaraki. That hurts, unhappy. Looking into Stain's eyes, with immense hatred for the wound he had. But at that moment, Tamura touched Stain's knife, disintegrating it. Tamura. I just want to destroy everything I hate the most, heroes, villains, no one is innocent in this rotten world, it's something you should already know, right senpai? Stain quickly took his distance, but had his hand on the handle of another knife. Stain's mind. This child has an immense desire for destruction, but if he grows up, he could be a threat, you better be careful. Tamura. Kurogiri, get this guy out of here. Kurogiri. But it could be a good arsenal for our ranks. Stain. Let it be clear, our ideals are very different, I fight for the true meaning of a hero, the false ones who use that title for their own dirty benefit, forgetting what it means to be a hero. Licking his lips and holstering his guns, but staring off into the fog in a suit. Stain. Take me back to Hosu, I have a lot of work to do there. Change of scene. Time skip. Inside a bullet train, our favorite green-haired boy could be seen with his mentor heading to Shibuya. Izuku. It's an hour and a half until we get to Shibuya. Looking out the window at the city of Hosu which was close to where the train passed. Gran Torino. You seem excited, even though I was nervous a little while ago. Izuku. Well, it will be my first patrol, and I already want to use what I learned in combat. Gran Torino. That's the attitude, boy. At that moment the boy took out his phone, something the old hero noticed. Gran Torino. Are you on your phone now? These young people these days are always into that stuff. The green-haired man just ignored him and looked at his cell phone with concern. Apart from talking to his wives in the afternoon away from Gran Torino, he was worried about his partner Lita. I had sent him a message and now he wasn't answering, knowing that he was very quick at such things. Glancing out the window at Hosu City, I felt the train shake a little. Izuku's mind. But what? Look at that. The building just exploded. What's going on there? Gran Torino. What's the scandal? Izuku. Will it be serious? Ladies and gentlemen, please fasten your seatbelts. The train seems to be having some trouble on the tracks. Everyone was confused by the driver's request, but suddenly the train door was destroyed with a badly wounded hero. Gran Torino. What the heck? Hero. Damned. Being silenced by a very thin Nomu's paw. Izuku. Nomu. Gran Torino. Even sighed all. Quickly launching himself at the Nomu and pulling him out of the wagon, he helped the hero. Gran Torino. Stay here boy. Launching himself at the Nomu and taking him to the city. Izuku. Gran Torino. Arriving outside, he was shocked to see how the entire city center was on fire. Izuku. What the hell is going on? Ignoring the warning from Gran Torino, he began to head towards the city center. In the center of Hosu. We can see how many were fighting against two Nomus. One was very strong and burly, another was flying through the skies. Destroying everything in its path without any compassion, even killing two heroes in the process. Being a complete massacre. What no one knew was that near a building there were individuals watching the whole show of destruction. Tamura. Hahaha, well, this is wonderful. Kurogiri. Are you sure you want to sacrifice these pawns? We don't know if they can beat the assassin. Tamura. If they manage to kill him it's perfect, but with this we can make our name more relevant than that time. Far from there was another very peculiar scene in an alley. Stain. Damn, those idiots must, then I'll take care of them. Holding very tightly the native hero, who had a large cut on his shoulder, but was paralyzed. Native. Damn murderer, this won't stay like this. Stain. You better think about your last words, hero. Native. Go to hell, you crazy bastard. Hero killer. The aforementioned quickly threw a strong punch at the person responsible for said voice. Hitting a blue-haired boy who fell to the ground, but quickly pointed his sword at his neck. Stain. Those eyes, are you here for revenge, kid? You should know this is no place for kids. Lita. Damn, I finally found you, I didn't think it would be so fast. Somewhere else. We can see a white-haired girl jumping between buildings towards the city's disaster site. Mirko's mind. What the hell is going on? He was supposed to be here for the hero killer, not a damn fire. Seeing that he was getting closer and closer to the place. Shoto, Izumi, where do you think you're going? Recognition. That voice stopped dead in its tracks, seeing Endeavor on the edge of the building. Who was yelling at his two interns that they were going somewhere else. Izumi. My brother is in danger, I have to go help him. Shoto. Rather send reinforcements to the address and I'll send you quickly. Mirko. Is the broccoli here? Starting to follow the engaged duo who were running as fast as they could. Shoto. How are you so sure your brother is in trouble? Izumi. He won't send his location in such a way, much less in a situation where he is Hosu, it must be one of those nomas or something worse. Shoto. The hero killer. Izumi. Just run faster, or I swear to God I'll burn your other eye out myself. She said, quickening her pace and entering the alley, followed by a Shoto who sweated a little from the threat. Mirko's mind. And I'm supposed to be the bossy one. Jumping on a building to be higher up and see the situation. Edinte. The boy's scream was heard, but Shoto and Izumi quickly launched their fires, achieving. The white-haired girl could notice that this was the hero killer Stain, who was about to stab Izuku with his katana. Izumi. Brother, I'm glad you're okay. He said happily that his green-haired twin wasn't looking like a skewer. Shoto. Next time you could be more specific with your messages. Izuku. I never thought I'd say this, but I'm glad to see you Izumi, thank you. Izumi. That's what brothers are for. Smiling and putting her brother on her shoulder, this being observed by Lita that she felt worse than before. Shoto. Lita, I don't know how this came about, but tell me the situation, can you move? Lita. No, after cutting ourselves we couldn't move. Izuku. Be very careful, he ingests the blood to use his quirk, that's how he was able to paralyze us. Izumi. Yuvio. Stain. You really have good friends, Ingenium. Shoto. Back. Creating ice and preventing them from cutting the tough brothers. Izumi. Go back. Throwing fire at Stain who jumped back. Shoto. The professionals will arrive soon. Thus began a fight between the passers-by and the murderer. All being seen by the rabid heroine who was paying attention, looking for the perfect moment to attack without being detected. Mirko's mind. They're not doing badly at all. Watching and listening to everything that was happening. The green-haired man spoke out the strategies, which were followed by his sister and the two-colored man who managed to keep the killer at bay. Even being able to save the native hero who was near the place. Mirko's mind. Better act now. Pushing himself over the edge of the building, Stain couldn't react to the rabbit speed, only feeling the strong blow against his jaw. Mirko. Go to hell. Mirko. It was the cry of pain of surprise at seeing her present there, although one did not seem happy to see her. Mirko. You did a great job, rookies, I was able to act in time. Izumi. How did you know we were here? Mirko. I heard some heroes were coming this way, so I came as fast as I could. Smiling as he watched everyone who was relieved. Except for one, which I could feel in Izumi's arms. Izuku's mind. Even a one-armed hero would have been better. But before she could continue with her mental complaints, she could see a small glow and something heading towards her at high speed. Izuku. Careful. Using one for all, full cowl to get in front of the heroine, but receiving a knife full in his shoulder, falling to the ground injured. Midoriya brother. Those were the screams of everyone when they saw Izuku on the ground injured, but trembling with fear when they saw the person responsible for the attack. Stain. I have to admit, that was a good hit. Mirko, who had a green-haired boy in his arms to prevent him from getting hurt. Izuku. Circa Reijo. He said, complaining of pain and looking at the knife. Mirko. Did you save me? Whispering and looking into the green-haired man's eyes. Izuku. It's what a hero does. Smiling a little but feeling great pain from the withdrawn knife. Mirko. Make sure no more blood is spilled, the other heroes will come. Izumi. Right away, I need ice. Shoto. Right away. Mirko. I'll take care of him. Stain. I still haven't fallen for the fake heroine. Mirko. Oh no. Well, if you're missing heroine, it'll leave you paralyzed. It was more obvious, Stain wouldn't fare well against an angry rabbit. End of chapter. Chapter 13. What am I what? Chapter 13. Izuku. Hey, gosh, where am I? Looking at his surroundings as the whole place was completely black around him, he could even notice that there was a kind of darkness around him. Touching his face, noticing that there was only darkness in his mouth, he tried to speak, but it was useless. Not a word came out. Already somewhat scared, he could hear footsteps, turning around to see a black figure taller than him. Izuku's mind. What happens now? Hello, ninth. In front of him appeared a muscular woman, wearing a black hero suit, yellow boots and gloves, and a white cape. The green-haired man wanted to say something, but he could only show a face of confusion, since he couldn't speak. But then he lowered his head and held the back of his neck due to the severe pain, due to a strong blow he received. And when he turned around, he was met by a bald man with a very unhappy face. How could you do that, dwarf? Do you really want to die so young? You haven't even chosen a successor. Izuku's mind. What's wrong with this one? But let me tell you, he was brave. Look, saving one of your girls like that, that's a lot of courage. Smiling as he lightly tapped the green-haired boy's back, who was still confused and in pain from the blow. Izuku's mind. Wait a minute, his voice was the one I heard a few days ago. Remembering well the voice from that moment when he was angry with Mirko for taking his things. At that moment she felt someone touch her shoulder, noticing that it was the same woman from before. I bet you need some answers for all this. Izuku just nodded, paying attention to the duo in front of him. Outside of Izuku's mind. While the broccoli with legs was inside his mind talking to the dead. We can clearly see what it was like around a hospital room. Being the same Hosu, still being where he was after everything that happened yesterday. The green-haired man's body was in a robe and inside the bed sheets. Although he was not alone, since he was with his friends and sister. Izumi still in his hero costume like Shoto, Lita was the only one wearing a gown and a cast covering his arm. Shoto. I'm surprised that he shows such tranquility when sleeping. He said, seeing how relaxed the green-haired man's expression was when he slept. The expression of pain the green-haired man had when he stopped the bleeding came to mind. Izumi. At least he wasn't awake hearing Stain's screams of pain. Flashback. We can see how the heroine had the murderer held above her head. Stain. Not Baines, not Baines. But his pleas went unheard as he felt the rabbit's knee against his back and his bones creak. Earning a wince from everyone else who saw her. End of the flashback. Shoto. I still get chills from that. Lita. This is my fault. Shoto. You're right. Izumi. Shoto. Shoto. What? He said it was his fault. The green-haired woman just sighed at how direct her husband could be and how lacking in subtlety his words could be. At that moment the door was opened, revealing Mirko, who seemed to be somewhat serious. Inventions. Mirko-san. Still somewhat nervous upon seeing her, it was no secret that she was still afraid of the bunny heroine. Especially when you remember how she kicked down his door and didn't even bother to send money to fix it. Mirko. So they were here. Referring to Shoto and Izumi in their hero outfits, but then looked at Lita in the cast. Mirko. You two better go and rest, you were here all night. Izumi. Boo, but my brother is. Mirko. Relax girl, I'll be here until the hero who is in charge of him for his internships comes, and what flames do you want to see them? Shoto. The old man. Mirko. Yes, and he's not at all happy with you two for going to confront the hero killer. Everyone's mind. But it was you who massacred him. Remembering how all the killer's bones had crunched like chopsticks used for eating. Mirko. They were expecting a kiss on the cheek, go at once if you don't want to end up like Stain. This time it was Shoto who took Izumi by the arm and ran away from the place. It was less of a hassle than the rabbit laying a finger on him. Then I pay attention to the blue-haired boy who tensed up a lot upon receiving that look. Mirko. I know what happened boy, Ingenum was your brother right? Lita just nodded at this, which was more than enough to confirm her suspicions. Sighing, she held her hair to keep from losing her temper. Mirko. I'm not going to blame you for anything, I know very well what you felt, but that doesn't take away from the fact that you put your colleagues and yourself in danger by doing that. Changing his anger to concern when he saw Izuku still asleep. Lita. I know what I did, and apologizing won't undo the damage done. Mirko. At least it's all over now, kid, but you're not immune to what your mentor will tell you. The blue-haired man just nodded. In Izuku's mind. Izuku. They're bucking with me. He said with a clear face of shock to the master of All Might, the fifth bearer and the first. Playing Uno with them, seeing how he already had 20 cards in his hands. Fifth. Haha, you're unlucky, boy. Having only 5 cards in your hand. Nana. Come on, don't be like that with him, he's just a rookie. The 3 cards in his hand and smiling as he looked at the green-haired man. Causing a slight twitch in his eye and a hint of anger, causing the black-haired girl to laugh. But at that moment a faint light began to surround the green-haired man. Izuku. What's going on? First. You are waking up, it is time for you to go. Fifth. Don't worry about us, we'll be talking to you sometimes. Nana. Good luck with them, you're going to need it. Izuku. Wait, have you been watching me this whole time? First lullaby fifth. Yes. Izuku. Damn sons of bitches. Out in reality. Izuku. Hey, what happened? Bedding up a little in his bed, but feeling a great pain in his chest. Midoriya-san. The only thing the green-haired man could see was blue hair and feeling a big hug. Izuku. Be careful Lita-san, my body still hurts. He said, lightly patting the back of the blue-haired man who was hugging him. Lita. I'm really sorry, I was very stupid, because of me you put yourself in danger. Izuku. Haha, what matters is that you're okay. Looking up, he could see that Mirko was also there, who stared at him, but noticed how her ears had lowered a little. Izuku? Hey Miss Mirko, what's up? The first thing she saw was Lita being pushed aside and thrown onto the bed next to her surprise, and then she felt the heroine give her a warm hug. He could even feel a little of his ears that were close to his forehead. Izuku? Lita? They both couldn't believe what they were seeing, the toughest and proudest heroine of all was giving him a hug. Thank you for helping me. Izuku Lita's mind. How? They thought with a surprise that almost made their eyes pop out of their sockets. Even a nurse passing by dropped her clipboard in shock. Which caused a stir and made everyone come out of shock, which made Mirko stop hugging the green-haired boy. Mirko? I will never forget what you did for me, I owe you one. Izuku? It was nothing, that's what a hero does. Smiling as he rubbed the spot where he was attacked, he could feel the stitches. Mirko? I want to see how you say that to your mentor. Looking at the door, his action is imitated by the teenagers, who can see their mentors standing in front of them. Manuel was just serious looking at Lita and Torino. You could see him blowing smoke out of his head in anger and tapping his foot lightly on the ground. Izuku's mind. I'm dead. Nana. Don't exaggerate, if I were younger I would kill you, at least I would leave you with a bruise. Izuku's mind. That doesn't help me. Change of scene. While our favorite green-haired man was about to suffer the wrath of the veteran hero, we can see the other two cool wives of the green-haired man who were now at their agency watching the latest news on Hosu. Kinda. It's clear Rumi had fun. Watching how they carried Stain away on a stretcher with some handcuffs, giving an uncomfortable pose, and that surely his bones were broken as if they were noodles. Ryuko? You can say that, after all she doesn't know what it means to hold back. Kinda. They also said there was a Nomus attack, but it wasn't difficult at all, and Dever was also there. At that moment, both women's phones received a message. Kinda being the one holding it in her hand, checked that it was Rumi's, when she opened it she couldn't believe it. Price. Nomi iodine. Ryuko? What's wrong with you? Checking his phone too and seeing that it was a photo that Rumi sent. Where it was clearly visible, you could see Mirko taking a selfie, revealing behind her and Izuku in his hospital bed, being hit by Torino with his cane. In addition, in a red circle in the photo, the wound the green-haired man had is marked. This obviously wouldn't leave a good taste in the mouths of the heroine duo. Kinda. That boy, he's in serious trouble. Then Hosu. After being scolded and congratulated for helping arrest Stain, they left the green-haired boy and the blue-haired boy alone. But the blue-haired man could notice how the green-haired man had trembled slightly. Lita. Are you okay Midoriya-san? Izuku. SC, solo senti on escalafrio. Lita. It might be a sign that something bad is going to happen to you. Izuku. That must be it. Izuku's mind. Is it weird to feel that? Fifth. I felt once that I found out that the woman I was with threatened to cut off my manhood. First. I felt that when I was close to dying. Nana. Maybe you're in danger, but the carrier hasn't come out yet. Fifth. That spoilsport is in the background watching the soap operas the boy watched with his mother. Izuku's mind. Don't buck with me, they even see my memories, can't I have privacy? Nana. Don't be like that, it's adorable to see you in your All Might pajamas. Fifth. Or you when you fought with your sister. Izuku's mind. Life is bucked up. Time skip. Change of scene. After having entered all this time with Torino and having a great advance with the One for All, he had to return home while answering messages from his friends for having shared his location that day. Izuku only knew that Mirko left Hosu after all, at least as far as he knows. Since the whole time he was in the hospital, she was visiting him and talking to pass the time. Now in a more civilized way. It seems she managed to get past Mirko's wall and now have a friendship. At least she wasn't killing him with her gaze anymore. But the strangest thing of all is that during those days, he didn't receive a single message from his other wives. They only sent him one before returning. We need to talk. That was the only message he received from either of them, knowing better than anyone that it didn't mean anything good. Standing in front of his home, he bravely took out his key and unlocked it. Slowly proceeding to open the door, but that went down the drain when it was opened abruptly. For a dragon's tail. She had taken the green-haired man by the waist, who was so scared he couldn't do anything, closing in behind him. Being able to only feel somewhat comfortable in his rear, noticing that he was on the couch. But when he looked up, all he could do was sweat in fear. Because in front of them were Ryukyu and Kaina, and they were not happy at all. Their angry expressions and black auras were already too much context, and it was unnecessary. Izuku. Oh hello Kaina-san, Ryuko-chan, why are you like this? Are you hungry? Trying to save himself by using his best weapon against women, food prepared by him. But at that moment Kaina put him in front of his eyes. Looking at the photo I had of Mirko and his selfie in the hospital, also noticing the red circle, which pointed to him and his number with Gran Torino. At that moment he noticed Mirko, who was standing in the kitchen doorway, eating a carrot, giving him a smile and waving with his free hand. Izuku's mind. Daughter of a mother rabbit. His last thought being when he was caught from his neck by a key of Lady Nagant. And at the same time watching how Ryukyu, from who knows where, got a bird feather. Ryukyu. Well Midoriya-kun, you'll have a lot to explain about everything that happened in Hosu. Izuku's mind. Mommy. End of chapter. Chapter 14. What am I what? Chapter 14. Izuku's mind. How did I end up like this? He asked himself as he lay in his bed in his new home. Being with a slight mark on his neck because of the key that Kaina had made him. And a little pain in his back, courtesy of Ryukyu, who had applied a wrestling hold. All of this was witnessed by Rumi, who just laughed her head off since she was the one who had informed him about their fight over Stain and his injury. Izuku's mind. At least I think I managed to calm things down, I just hope we can look each other in the face without wanting to kill each other. Finally sleeping after his great torture by two of his wives. Falling into the arms of Morpheus and entering a deep sleep. In Mirko's room. We can see the rabbit woman in her bed, looking at her phone and it being the only light illuminating her. Mirko's mind. Haha, those two sure have fun. Looking at the photos he took when Izuku was being massacred by his two friends, but then he focused his gaze on the green-haired boy. Which was shown laughing because of the tickling that Ryukyu was giving him with the feather she had brought. Coming to mind for a few moments was that scene where the green-haired man stood in front of her to defend her from Stain's attack. That's what a hero does. Mirko's mind. Maybe I was a bit rude. Getting out of bed to walk towards the door. Mirko's mind. Well, it was my fault too, I just acted without thinking. Starting to walk towards the kitchen to grab a glass and fill it with milk. Mirko's mind. I'll talk to them tomorrow at breakfast to clear everything up. Rumi. Behind her is Ryukyu, who was returning from the bath. Ryukyu. Midnight snack. He said as if nothing had happened to see her and rubbing his eye to get up. Mirko. Yes, I needed something to calm me down. Ryukyu. Does it have anything to do with today? Smiling as he watched the bunny's ears lower a little. Ryukyu. Haha, well I won't interrupt you anymore, see you tomorrow. He said as he returned to his room with a wide smile, leaving Rumi feeling embarrassed at being easily discovered. Rumi. Damn lizardfish. Drinking his entire glass of milk in one gulp. Mirko's mind. Why the hell didn't I buy liquor, I need something strong. The next morning. We can see the green-haired man making breakfast as usual. Izuku's mind. And I thought I'd be the last one to get out of bed. One thing that was true, the green-haired man was the first to wake up so far, making breakfast for everyone equally, including Mirko. The only thing the green-haired man didn't know was that Kaina had been awake long before him. Only she wanted to try the green-haired man's delicious dishes. The whole time the green-haired boy was at his internship, he had to settle for Ryukyu's and things quickly. Hearing a sweet aroma coming from the kitchen, I knew it was time to get up and go eat. Wearing only a black long-sleeved shirt and purple pants with gun designs. When she left the room, the first thing she saw was Rumi, who was also leaving her room at the same time as her. Rumi. Good morning. He said while giving a big yawn and scratching his belly with one of his hands. Kaina. Hello bunny, how was your dream? He spoke in a casual manner as he ran a hand through his hair. Rumi. Nah, better than last time. Being followed by the gaze of the purple-haired girl who saw where she was going. Kaina. Where are you going? Rumi. Where else, for breakfast? Kaina. With us. Since when? Rumi. Well, from now on, the brat and I. Breakfast is ready. The green-haired man shouted from the dining room, managing to prevent the conversation between the two from continuing. Kaina's mind. Well, it's better than them continuing to fight, I just hope she doesn't kill him when her heat time comes. Walking into the dining room, finding a lovely breakfast. Izuku. I hope you like it. Smiling as he took off the apron he was wearing, but not before being hugged by the purple-haired girl who took him by surprise. Kaina. Is this perhaps a way to make up for the scare you gave us? She said while putting a little strength into her hug, but also letting him feel her breath on his neck. Making the green-haired boy blush a little for the latter, but more for the pain he felt where his wound was. Izuku. Haha, maybe Kaina-chan. Managing to break away from the embrace of the sniper who smiled friendly. Kaina. Well, I'll take it, but I still don't forgive you for doing something so reckless. He said to take her cheek and caress it a little, then take a seat at the table. Mirko, for his part, was already eating even since Kaina hugged him. Mirko's mind. Shit, this tastes good, now I see why they always had that face. Enjoying the breakfast in front of him, he might not say it, but the green-haired man had a natural talent for making good breakfasts. This was a point where he now realized that the green-haired man was a good catch. Izuku. Oigan, why Ryuko-san? Looking around for the last of his wives who was not there. Umi. I'm sure she's still asleep, she sleeps like a log. Taking a piece of waffles with honey and letting out a squeal of happiness at the taste. Aina. Why don't you wake her up? Taking his cup of coffee and adding some missing sugar. Izuku. And why me? I just made breakfast, one of you should. He couldn't finish speaking when he saw the women's gazes, which gave off certain intimidating auras. Making the green-haired man quickly swallow the bread he had in his mouth. Izuku. You know what, I'd better do it myself, don't bother. Heading to the dragon woman's room with some fear, although now he didn't know if he had to fear the duo who were having breakfast or the dragon woman. Because something he knew very well was that he should never wake a woman when she is sleeping. He and his father were witnesses and victims of his mother and sister. Obviously neither of the two terms were on good terms when they took it out on them. His father with a handprint on his cheek and he with a black eye. Now I didn't know what would happen if I woke up to a woman with a quirk and dragon features. Izuku's mind. Come on Izuku, if you could manage to appease a woman as wild and rude as Mirko, you can against Tatsuma-sans, besides, she is the most sensible of the three, I'm sure she won't throw me out the window. Knocking on the door a little, but seeing how it's slightly open, giving an open pass. Izuku. Ryuko-san. Opening the door a little, the woman's bed was revealed. Izuku. Ryuko-san. Sticking his head all the way in and seeing the dragon woman inside his sheets. Izuku's mind. And I thought Izumi was lazy. Entering the room to see a traditional Chinese-style decoration with some photos of her during her time at the UA, others with the girls and some heroines from her agency. Once in front of her, he lightly shook the blonde who began to show signs of waking up. Izuku's mind. If it works with Izumi, it should work with her. Izuku. If you don't wake up, I'll give your breakfast to Mirko-san. At that moment the woman's eyes widened, scaring the boy a little in surprise. Ryuko. No. He screamed and woke up with a great leap, scaring the green-haired boy who fell on his back. The woman who was in pajamas saw the green-haired man who met her gaze and she noticed that he was wearing his nightclothes. Izuku. Breakfast is ready. Change of scene. Now we can see the green-haired man who was on the couch in his living room. But the slight bump on his head caused by a dragon woman who was ashamed of having been found in that way by the young Midoriya. Izuku's mind. Women, who understands them. The Goro. It's a mystery, boy, a mystery that to this day remains unsolved. Nana. They know I'm here, right? The Goro. As I said, a mystery. While the one for all bearers argued amongst themselves, Izuku decided to kill time with something. Well, tomorrow he was going to the university again and seeing that it was barely 10 in the morning. In addition to watching the video game console that was on the television. Izuku's mind. Let's see, I hope girls have good taste in games. Taking the PlayStation controller and looking at the games I had downloaded. Izuku. Let's see, Mortal Kombat X, a fighting and blood game, this has Mirko's name somewhere. Still looking at the list and thinking maybe I should play it. Izuku. Assassin's Creed 3, I think kinda likes the saga. Izuku. I never thought Ryuko would like Dragon Ball. Izuku. Ryuko is my favorite now. He said happily as he put the game on and smiled as he watched the video game's intro begin. Thinking he was alone, he proceeded to play, although he failed to notice that Mirko, who had just come out in her heroine costume to start her day, had heard him. Mirko. What did you say? The green-haired man, very scared, turned around to find Mirko, who smiled. Izuku. What? Mirko. Who was your favorite? First. Run ninth. Nana. You screwed up, Izuku, you screwed up big time. Listen to him and run. With Izumi. We can see the green-haired girl in the living room of her new apartment, given to her by her marriage to the youngest member of the Todoroki family. Shoto. Hey Izumi, how do you think your brother is doing? He said, arriving with an ice cream in his hand and giving one to the green-haired girl. Izumi. Nah, I'm sure he'll be fine, after all he's with Ryukyu and Lady Nagant, they seem reasonable and sensible. Shoto. And about Mirko, do you remember about the hospital? Izumi. Yes, maybe she is a secret tsundere. Shoto. Unit tsundere. Izumi. Hey Shoto, you're still too young for that sort of thing. Caressing the cheek of the bicolor who didn't understand what he meant by that. Shoto. It's going to be lunchtime soon, what do you want today? Izumi. Well. Shoto. Kei no si katsuden. Izumi. If you start limiting me, I don't have much. Shoto. Does this look like pizza to you? Izumi. With extra cheese. Shoto. I'm calling. Change of scene. Now we can see the rabbit jumping between the buildings of the city. Going on her usual patrol after having a brief chat with her husband about who her favorite was. Mirko's mind. Look, after I was the one who was with him in the hospital, he says that now Ryuko is his favorite, that little guy still doesn't know anything. Reaching the top of a building to watch the passers-by in traffic, looking for at least some way to have fun. Mirko's mind. Although well, maybe that's because I wasn't nice to him at the beginning. Remembering how she kicked in his front door, interrupted and nearly attacked him in front of All Might, grabbed his things without permission, and avoided him most of the time. It was more than obvious that she was at the bottom of the list. Mirko's mind. Maybe after he recovers I'll talk to him. He thought and then saw how a chase began in the distance, giving a smile to lighten his mood. But Izuku. Why me? The green-haired man screamed internally as he found some ice on his back, above a palm mark. Courtesy of the rabbit than by anger. Izuku. I will never understand women. Ryuko. Kinda. Is something wrong? Seeing how the blonde had an aura of happiness and flowers around her, working on her computer. Ryuko. I don't know, she suddenly had a burst of happiness. Kinda. Well, I hope that lasts you after lunch, later we have to patrol. Without knowing why, he felt his pride hurt by the blonde's smile. Primer Luger. Ryuko. Second place. Kinda. Third place. Rumi. That's how Izuku has them at 3 for how they've behaved. We hope that next time things will change or remain the same. End of chapter. Chapter 15. What am I what? Chapter 15. Izuku's mind. I already miss this place and the noises of this crazy gang. He thought as he saw how all his classmates were arriving one by one. Talking to each other about what happened during their internships and the activities they did. Midoriya's sister was sitting next to her brother, seeing that he had all his things, and then heading towards where he was. Shoto for his part was looking at his phone, seeing some things about the hero killer incident. Izumi. Hey bro, how was your return home? How did they receive you? He said, emphasizing they, which was clearly captured by the green-haired and two-colored man who was nearby, leaving his cell phone to join the conversation. Shoto. Is it true, after telling us how they got along, they received you well when they found out about your injury? The two-colored man asked the green-haired man, who only had a drop of sweat, when he remembered how he was received by a dragon and a sniper who tortured him with tickles. If he hadn't begged them to stop, the green-haired boy would have peed himself laughing so hard. Izuku. Yes, very good. He said with a nervous smile, confusing the bicolor a little, but his sister managed to see behind that smile that something else happened. And being a good sister, she decided to ask. Izumi. Tell me little brother, how did it go this morning when you left, did they say anything to you about it? Smiling as he made his twin tense up a bit, who looked at him wanting to strangle him. Izuku's mind. If it weren't for the fact that we're at the academy, I'd drown you with the toilet, just like I did to you years ago. He thought somewhat annoyed when that little memory came to him. Mini flashback. Inko. What am I going to do with you two? She said very annoyed in front of her two children, Izuku and Izumi, who were 7 years old. One had a piece of his head shaved and the other had a wet head, but with a piece of toilet paper on her head. Izuku Izumi. He or she started it. Inko. I don't care who started it. End of the mini flashback. Shoto. And how did it go? Izuku. Well. Flashback. We can see the green-haired man putting on his signature red sneakers at the entrance of his house. Izuku's mind. I already left you both a hot coffee, some bentos with something light for the day, and now that I'm returning to the academy, I won't have much time to cook like during the internships. I hope you understand. Well, I hope Mirko understands. Finishing tying his shoelaces and standing up. Are you leaving without saying goodbye? Behind the green-haired boy who was scared, he saw that it was Kaina, who was wearing her hero costume. Izuku. Oh sorry, I thought you were still sleeping. Kaina. I was visiting her on my way to work, Ryuko and Rumi are still asleep, you have to knock down the doors for those two to wake them up. He said with some grace towards his friends with animal quirk, earning a slight laugh from the green-haired boy. Izuku. Well, goodbye Kaina-san, see you in the afternoon. Diving in and opening the door a little, but being held by the shoulder. Kaina. I'm your wife, say goodbye properly. She said something serious but flirtatious to the green-haired man, who turned a little red from embarrassment. When he turned around he saw the purple-haired girl pointing at his cheek with a finger. Kaina. Give me a kiss before you go. He said with a slight smile and a small blush. Izuku. A sea bream? Have you seen it in the refrigerator? Kaina. I said kiss not sea bream. She said angrily and grabbed the green-haired man by the neck, who began to strangle him lightly, his face red with anger and shame. Izuku. Loc sai too. He spoke in a halting voice as he tried to escape the purple-haired girl's grip. "You too, stupid kid, like Seabream." The carrier with the lack of hair spoke, reprimanding the green-haired man for having screwed up so badly. "Come on Dagoro, don't be like that, you barely have any experience in this dating or marriage thing I should say." Nana Shimura speaks now, trying to defend her student from her student. Izuku was going to respond to her claims, but his thoughts were interrupted when he was quickly kissed by the purple-haired girl. But he had to grab his face to give him a quick kiss on his lips. Then she pulled away and smiled at him while licking her lips, still holding him close as she was still holding his face. "Hina. Come back soon, dear." Giving her one last kiss on her cheek and turning around to go back inside the house. End of the flashback. Izuku. Let's just say it went well for me. With a slight blush on her cheeks that only her twin could notice, but she didn't say anything, she just smiled maliciously at what she had in mind to do. "But what changed the most was you, right?" He said Zero that he was referring to the duo of green-haired twins, the two-colored one who was with them, and the blue-haired one with glasses who was about to talk to them. But he managed to get the attention of all of them who approached them to talk about the hero killer. "Toru. I heard that Mirko saved them, is it true?" Izuku. "Yes, it was her." Instinctively touching the place where he was stabbed, Lita did the same with the shoulder where he had Stain's sword. While the others were surrounding the quartet about what happened in Hosu. A certain red-haired man looked resentfully at a green-haired man and a two-colored man. He still hadn't gotten over the humiliation he felt at the sports festival, and even more so now that during his internships, he only received lessons in modeling, education, and wearing jeans most of the time on patrol. And in the case against the bicolor, it's because he was too close to Izumi and he couldn't tolerate that. "I'm walking through the door like a normal person." I shouted the P symbol that reached the classroom, drawing the attention of all the students. Izuku's mind. "Well, I hope I can lighten my mind with exercise." While the green-haired boy was about to start his classes with his mentor. Let's see what the trio of heroines is doing. At the Ryukyu agency. We can see how the three of them were in the office. Umi. "And that's what happened yesterday before I left the house." The rabbit said to the pair of heroines who were with her while she was lying on the sofa in the place. Ryukyu. "I see, and you got angry with him." Seeing how the rabbit had an angry grimace while she just widened her smile. Understanding now why he had a sudden increase in happiness and calm inside. "Hina. Don't brag, you want to, you are just for now, thanks, I'm still playing." Annoyed that she was in second place, but she only grew angrier when she saw how the dragon laughed slightly. Ryukyu. "By the way Umi, why the sudden change in you getting along with him?" Hina. "It's true, did something happen in Hosu and the hero killer?" Looking seriously at the rabbit who tensed a little, not because of the sniper's gaze, but because she remembered how the green-haired man and his heroic act to prevent her from being stabbed. Mirko. "Let's just say, he showed me I was wrong, although not in the way I expected." Ryukyu. "Does that have to do with you breaking Stain's spine, breaking 4 of his ribs, and knocking out 3 of his teeth?" Mirko. "Yes, I won't deny it." Hina. "It's almost lunchtime, I'm dying to see what she made." Mirko. "Screw the schedule, I'm already craving those broccoli delicacies." He said to take his bento and open it eagerly, the first thing he received was the smell of the food and then see what he had. A rabbit made of rice and 2 sausages that were as big as his ears. This only caused Rumi's eyes to sparkle with excitement and how cute it was. Rumi. "I don't know whether to eat it or leave it as it is." Hina and Ryuko saw Rumi's bento, curiosity getting the better of them, and took out their bentos as well. Being able to see that they were a kitten and a teddy bear in each one. Ryuko. "She really puts a lot of effort into making us lunch, I think we should give her something as a reward." Hina. "I agree." Hina's mind. "Although I think I already gave him one in advance." Licking his lips at that occasion at the door of his house. Change of scene. Time skip. With Izuku. After completing rescue training with All Might. That took up a large part of the day and required a great effort from everyone, leaving them exhausted. But now our green-haired man was outside his mentor's office. "Forward," said the voice behind the door that gave the green-haired man the signal to open the door. Izuku. "I lament the delay All Might." All Might. "Don't worry, boy, have a seat, I want to talk to you about something." Izuku's mind. He looks more serious than usual. All Might. "I have 2 things to ask you, young Midoriya." Izuku. "What would they be?" All Might. "The first thing I'd like to know is, how are things going with them? You know what I mean, did you have a little problem with Mirko again? You know I can take care of it." Izuku. "Don't worry All Might, it seems I managed to calm things down between us, although of course it wasn't easy." All Might. "What happened?" Izuku. "I'll tell him, but don't get mad." All Might mind. Why do I feel like I won't like this? Izuku took off his jacket and removed his shirt, showing the scar where he was stabbed. Leaving the American hero surprised to see that scar. All might. What happened? He said worriedly and looked at the scar in detail, realizing that it was not a simple superficial cut. Izuku. What happened was. With Izumi. We can see how the green-haired girl was next to Shoto, Uraraka and Lita. Those who were waiting for the green-haired man to finish his things. Uraraka. Hey Izumi-chan, do you know that Bakugo has been looking at you a lot? Starting a conversation among themselves to pass the time, although the bicolor had a slight tick upon hearing that. Izumi. Oh yeah. I hadn't noticed, I was more focused on other things. I speak sharply and coldly about the mention of the Pelissaniso. I still haven't forgiven the way he took his revenge on her at the sports festival. She was rather grateful that her brother had defended her, although she was a little afraid of that side of Izuku she saw when he hit Bakugo on the ground and got blood on his face and hands. Izumi's mind. I hope it took a long time to see that side of me again, now it's clear to me that I shouldn't make Izuku angry to a certain point. Lita. Although I'm not very familiar with that romance thing, what do you plan to do with it, Izumi-san? Shoto's mind. I think I'll have to take charge. Somewhat angry to think that the Pelissaniso still had in mind to take revenge on the Midoriya. Shoto's mind. If I can prove that I'm capable of defending Izumi, maybe Izuku won't threaten to hit me like Bakugo anymore. How clever you are, Shoto. Hey guys. The green-haired man had arrived where everyone was. Uraraka. Deku-kun. Izumi. You finally appeared, where have you been? Izuku. Sensei wanted to talk to me about some things I had with the improvement of my quirk, it seems that I managed to impress him. Uraraka. It was to be expected, you've improved a lot since the festival, what kind of training did you have? Izuku. It was a bit hard to be honest, but I'm glad it won't break my bones now. Shoto. Say it now and see if you stop having this habit of having scars. Lita. I agree with Todoroki-san on that, Midoriya-san, don't give us those scares again. Izuku. I don't promise anything. Izumi. Hey, little brother. So everyone began to retreat to the train station. Having a good time with friends, not knowing what was in store for them. But the heroines. Ryuko. Are you sure about this? Seeing that they had a light cake with a thank you message written in the center with chocolate. Kinda. What else can we do? Katsuden would be very obvious. Umi. It was either this or buy him something from All Might or from us, and believe me, the guy already has enough of our products. Remembering how I check some of the green-haired boys' things. But at that moment they received a call from the dragon's phone. Ryuko. See. Habla Ryukyu. Pol Ryukyu, Soy Nezu. End of chapter. Chapter 16. What am I what? Chapter 16. Izuku. It's delicious. He said eating another piece of the cake that the three heroines had brought for him. Right now everyone was at the kitchen table starting the cake. Everyone in their pajamas since it was dark. Ryuko. It's true, we were a bit undecided whether to choose this one with 3 tres leches or the one with chocolate and manjar blanco. Taking a piece from his plate, enjoying the cake she had brought. Umi's mind. The idea was that he would eat it alone. The original plan was for Izuku to eat the cake just as a way of saying thanks and to have a good time with that cake so he can relax freely. But as always, Izuku is a godsend and shared his gift with him. The poor rabbit would like to hit a wall of spikes now for trying to hit Izuku in the first days of marriage. Kinda. How did it go at Izuku Academy? Izuku. Pretty good, many have changed thanks to their internships. Mirko. Like you, did they receive a death scar? He said with some grace, managing to make the green-haired boy blush a little from remembering that occasion. And even more so since 2 of his wives almost laughed him to death inside the house. Izuku. No, luckily no one else received a wound like mine. Laughing a little as he cut another piece of cake, but feeling a spoon touch his cheek. Kinda. Don't think we've forgotten that time, Izuku. Tensing the green-haired man a little, he just swallowed his paper with some fear for his words. Mirko. The only one who can instill fear in broccoli is me. She said to impose her authority as the only one who can scare the little green-haired boy. Not for nothing was she the most violent and rude heroine in all of Japan. Izuku's mind. Is that something very good or very bad? Nana. Well, 50-50. Bigoro. Stay close to the blonde boy, at least she's the most sensible and the prettiest. 6th. Nana and I made a list yesterday, the dragon is at the top. Bigoro. And when did you arrive? 6th. I thought it was fun and decided to come. 1st. Well of course, although I say that Satsumi would enter into a debate for first place, she was the first to kiss him. Nana. That's true, but before that, she's the most decent to him out of the 3 of them. Bigoro. We agree on that, but let's see, the dragon has been more focused and seems to be the leader of the group, we only remove the things that the sniper did secretly. First. And the rabbit. The Goro. Are we really going to talk about her? After threatening and yelling at her in such a way, it doesn't justify her at all, until she has some merit, she will be in last place. All the one for all bearers were in a debate between the positions they have placed, between the heroines. Outside of Midoriya's mind, they continued talking to the three heroines. Ryuko. The end of the term is coming up soon, not to sound like a mother, but how are things going at school? Izuku. Nothing to worry about, I'm among the top 5 in the class academically, unlike my sister. Swallowing another piece of cake, smiling and thinking about how bad things will go for her sister. Aina. I wish someone had been this diligent during their time at the academy. Emphasizing someone and giving an accusatory look to a certain brunette bunny. Izuku. What do you mean by that, Kaina-san? I ask with some curiosity, but I can tell Rumi choked on her cake. Izuku. Did I say something wrong? I ask, somewhat confused by Rumi's reaction, but seeing how Ryuko was with a slight laugh that she tried to hide. Kaina. Hey Izuku, tell me, aren't you curious to know what Rumi was like when she was a student? Smiling at how a sparkle came into Izuku's eyes, but seeing how Rumi began to choke, so much so that she began to drink water to wash down the cake. Izuku. Rumi-san is a student. I would love to know. Rumi. Don't you even think about it. He said to get up and cover the mouth of the purple-haired girl, who was trying to speak. Ryuko. They've already started theirs. Izuku. Haha, I think we better put everything away, tomorrow there is still school and you guys have work. Taking the plates they used to eat the cake and floating off to the kitchen. Being followed by a Ryuko who had what was left of the cake in her hand. Izuku. Let me take care of it, could you do it with them? Watching how far away his other 2 wives were in a small ball of smoke, rolling around the room because of their little argument. Ryuko. Let me take care of it, honey. Approaching him, she pays to give him a kiss on his cheek, making the green-haired man furious because of it, in addition to steaming out of his ears like a locomotive. Ryuko. Haha, you're cute when you're like that. Turning around to go where her friends were and prevent them from possibly destroying the house. The Goro. There they have another demonstration for her is in first place. Izuku's mind. Can you at least close the communication about their debate with them? While the green-haired man was washing the dishes and listening to the debate the carriers were having about classifying the 3 women in a top. The women who were in the room managed, or rather Ryuko managed to calm them down. Mirko. Don't even think about remembering my dark past. Aina. The only dark thing you have here is your skin. Mirko. Damn daughter of a bitch. Ryuko. You basta. She said to take out her wings for a moment, managing to appease the duo of friends who were fighting. Ryuko. Ugh, well, now that you're calm, go rest, tomorrow we still have work to do. Mirko. Now that I remember, aren't we going to tell him about that? I ask, remembering how at no point did they talk about the topic they discussed with Nezu. They just spent their time talking about their day and eating cake. Ryuko. Nah, leave it, we left it as a surprise. Mirko. Sometimes you are malevolent. Aina. And with that good girl face. Ryuko. What did they say? Aina. Rumi. Nada. Change of scene. It was now 12 midnight and our parsley hair was in his bed with his phone. Watching some news that was talking about what happened to Stain and the injuries that a certain rabbit that was a few doors away near him had inflicted on him. Izuku's mind. Gosh, thank goodness we get along now, I think, how is Stain doing now? And totters. We can see the hero killer Stain on a stretcher inside his cell. Completely encased in plaster, he almost looked like a mummy except for his face. Inside his cell was a group of guards who were there to watch over him. And help him with things like scratching himself or taking him to the bathroom since he couldn't do it alone now. Guard 1. How are you feeling, Stain? Can I give you a hand? He said with some grace in his words, earning a dirty look from the black-haired assassin, but also some laughter from his colleagues. Stain. You think you're really funny, right, you son of a bitch. Back with the parsley head. Talk talk. The door to his room had been knocked on before being opened. Izuku. Who is it? I asked to see clearly that it was Kaina who closed the door behind her. Kaina. Good night, dear. Arriving where the green-haired boy was, who was covering his face with a huge blush. Well, the woman was wearing a short-sleeved white shirt, highlighting her spectacular figure and a little of her breasts, which were not wearing a bra. And some black sleep pants, which were rolled up a bit to show off her beautiful legs. When the woman reached the green-haired man, he grabbed her face and brought it close to his. Izuku. What are you doing? Kaina. I just came to wish you good night, darling. Giving him a quick kiss and then catching him in her breasts, being a warm hug. Izuku's mind. O glory of glories, O divine testament of the eternal majesty of God's creation. Hina. I wanted a little of you before bed, with you I get rid of all the weight of work. Izuku. At least I'm glad to hear it. Receiving one last peso and feeling the woman's finger caress his cheek. Hina. When your birthday comes, I promise to give you an unforgettable gift. Izuku. You don't have to worry about that, I'll settle for anything. Hina. I'm glad to hear that, but I'll give you a little preview. Izuku. Ah, that's refi huh. The boy moaned slightly as he felt the woman bite him on the neck, knocking him down on the bed. Izuku's mind. I'm getting slapped. The next day. We can now see how the green-haired boy was about to leave for the academy. Of course, not before leaving a nice breakfast for his wives who were still sleeping, or so he thought. Are you leaving already? The green-haired boy tensed a little and turned around, hoping it was the purple-haired girl like last time. But not. It was Ryuko standing in front of him with a slight smile, although a little disheveled. Izuku. Good morning Ryuko-chan. The boy said politely to the dragon woman, who smiled in response and approached. Ryuko. Good morning, you're leaving without saying goodbye. Izuku. It's not my fault you slept so much, besides your snoring tells me everything. Smiling as she watched the woman blush a little in embarrassment, though she coughed a little to calm herself down and be serious again. Ryuko. Well, I'll try to get up earlier to say goodbye to you. Izuku. You don't have to do it, I know you work a lot, you should at least rest more. Ryuko. You're very understanding about those issues, I'm glad I got to marry you. Ryuko's mind. I'm glad she didn't take the path of drinking. The picture of herself comes to mind, where she is surrounded by bottles of alcohol, forgetting her problems and blaming drinking for everything that happens to her. But she came back to reality when she felt something soft against her cheek, it was Izuku who gave her a kiss that took her by surprise. But her surprise went away when she smelled a very familiar smell on the boy. Izuku. See you later. Ryuko. Un momento. Taking it and lifting the green-haired boy's neck, he could notice that he had a hickey. And the smell that came from him, I knew very well. When she released the green-haired man, her hands went to her hips and she gave him an accusing look. Ryuko. Anything you want to tell me about it, Izuku? Making the green-haired boy nervous, since now he didn't know how to say it, he could swear that fire was in the dragon's pupils that sharpened. What's going on? Izuku. Kaina-san. He said pointing behind the blonde who turned around and saw Kaina who had just gotten up. But seeing how the green-haired man left the house, escaping from the blonde dragon who was now looking at her. Ryuko. Let's see Kaina Tsutsumi, could you explain to me why little Izuku had a hickey on his neck and your scent was on it? Kaina. There's a funny story behind it. He said, then jumped back and closed the door to his room, but felt like a blow opened the hole. Noting a dragon. Ryuko. Here's Ryuko. Kaina. Help. Change of scene. We can now see how the entire Class A was in a very different situation than those they had faced. And they were. Final term exams. Izawa had told them that if they managed to pass the practical and written tests, they would be able to go to the summer camp they would be holding, but they would have to study a lot. Obviously that was more for those with the lowest grades of all. Among those were Mina and Kaminari. But let's see how our viable green-haired guy's group is doing. Izuku. Come on cilantro hair, the exams are easy. The green-haired man said to his sister, who was pouting and shed slight anime-style tears. Izumi. Shut up, you parsley, it's easy for you to say because you're among the top 5 academically. She was ranked 12th in her class. Neither so low, nor so high of all. Uraraka. Come on Izumi-chan, I know we can make it through, I hope so. Shoto. If you paid attention in class, it wouldn't be that difficult. Lita. Todoroki-san is right. Kaminari. You say that because we have the highest grades, you are cruel to us. Aoi Rozu. If you want, I can help you study. Mina. Yeah Momo. Aoi Rozu. But I can't help him with the practical. Izuku. Don't feel bad about it Yaoi Rozu, just offer your help, hopefully some could follow your example. That was a hard blow from the green-haired man to his companions, as well as his sister. Izumi. You're cruel. He said to give his brother a soft blow. Although the only thing that Midoriya didn't realize was that Yaoi Rozu blushed at the compliment she received and used her as an example. By then lunchtime had arrived. Izuku. Well, who's hungry? But the heroines. We can see how they are now at the agency. Mirko. So that's why you broke Kaina's door and were strangling her? The brunette rabbit asked the blonde dragon, who just nodded while doing some paperwork. While the purple-haired girl had an ice pack on her head. Mirko. Haha, epic. Ryuko. Well, leaving that aside, we have to finish some work. Kaina. That's true, we're going to be gone for a while to help out at that camp. Mirko. Because of the camp or because we can be alone with the green-haired boy? Ina Ryuko. Ambos. Mirko. How direct. End of chapter. Chapter 17. What am I what? Chapter 17. Izuku. How do you feel Kaina-chan? Said the green-haired man who was stroking the sniper's hair, which was curled up in his lap like a puppy scolded by its owner. In this case, he would be hanged by the dragon. Kaina. Keep going like this, just a little longer and I'll be better. She said as she snuggled deeper into the green-haired man's lap as he continued to cuddle the woman. Although of course, it seemed that someone was not very happy with this deal. Mirko. Oh come on Fangs, stop that face or you'll get wrinkles. The rabbit said when she saw how the blonde was looking angrily at her purple-haired friend. Ryuko. I don't know what you're talking about, Rumi. Since they and Izuku had returned from the academy and they from the agency. Kinda looked like she was almost going to kill the green-haired boy for ratting him out that morning to Ryuko. Although of course, Izuku using his Yuke magic managed to save himself from the sniper's wrath, although of course, that earned him the situation they are in now. With him stroking her hair and her happy on his lap. Kinda opened her eyes for a moment and looked at Ryuko, smiling as if she had won a battle. Ryuko's mind. I'll beat that smile out of you. I didn't know when Rumi grabbed her by the hip and she was struggling. It seemed that her body moved instinctively at Kaina's silent mockery. Rumi's mind. Please Kaina, I'm supposed to be the angry one, not Ryuko. While the rabbit was restraining the jealous dragon, our duo were having a whispered conversation. Kaina. Don't think I forgot that you ratted me out to Ryuko this morning. He said to give a small pinch on the green-haired boy's leg who complained a little. Izuku. Haha, sorry. Kaina. You'll have to do something to make up for that, it wasn't fun being hanged. Izuku. Do you think I should prepare something for you? Kaina. It could be some potatoes and some anticuchos. Izuku. I didn't know you liked Peruvian food. Kaina. Is among the best in gastronomy worldwide. Creator's note, long live Peru. Change of scene. After Izuku cooks the delicious anticuchos for Kaina, I forgive him for leaving her alone against Ryuko. Now we can see how the green-haired boy was in his room, with his flashlight illuminating his table and the notebook he was studying. He knew that the written exam might be easy for him, but he was not one to be overconfident. Not against villains or exams. Izuku's mind. Okay, another 15 minutes and I'll go to sleep. Seeing that it was almost 10 o'clock, he knew he had to go to the academy tomorrow and then figure out how to help his dear annoying sister study. He knew better than anyone that Izumi might not be an outstanding student, especially knowing that what his twin sister hates the most is math, while he is a lover of it. Knock knock. I'm coming in. The green-haired man turned around to see the person responsible, not wanting it to be Kaina. He didn't want to get into trouble with Ryuko again if he managed to save himself from her this time in the morning. He had no idea how to get out next time. But. Izuku. Ryuko-san. It was the same blonde dragon who had entered his room and was in her pajamas. Ryuko. Were you waiting for Kaina? She said with a cute pout that made her look adorable, managing to turn a little red with that expression. Izuku. How? Ryuko. Don't get smart with me, Izuku. Taking a step, he managed to get the green-haired man to get up from his chair and put it in front of him to use as a shadow. Izuku. I'm not doing anything to myself. Ryuko looked like she was going to go left, but she saw Izuku go right. When she wanted to go left, he went right, slightly moving the chair he was still using as a shield. Ryuko. Why are you backing away? He tried to feint, but the green-haired man quickly anticipated it and now he was on the side where Ryuko was. Izuku. I don't know what you're talking about. Izuku's mind. If Kaina's Hiki, who has normal teeth, hurt me, I don't want to imagine if she did it. He said looking at Ryuko's fangs, who was trying to catch him. Ryuko. Come here. So the two of them began to turn from one side to the other, with the desk chair in the middle of them. They seemed to play to the beat of the music where they stop when the music stops and sit on the chair. But instead of music, it was a broccoli escaping from a dragon with possibly unholy intentions. With Mirko. She was in her room, managing to consolidate sleep, but her ears had perked up upon hearing a certain noise. Mirko. Hey, what's going on? Getting up a little from the bed, his ears had moved towards where the noise was coming from. Mirko. The boy's room. What is he doing at this hour? Putting his ears against the wall to see if he could understand what was happening. Mirko's mind. If he's polishing his sword, I wouldn't be surprised, after all he's still a Homer teenager. Stay still. Please calm down, I'm getting tired. The brunette rabbit's face turned red because she knew it was Izuku, but she never expected the other time to be from her most ethical friend. Mirko's mind. What the heck, Ryuko, but it's supposed to be a long time until mating season. putting his ear back to the wall. Can we stop now? Not until you cooperate with me, I will not harm you. I've been told that before and it almost killed me this morning. Mirko's mind. This morning. Did they have a quickie in the morning before hanging kinda? I think that explains why she was angry about the hickey. But the alligator gar and the cilantro head. Ryuko. You're mine now. Managing to grab the boy and throw him against the bed with her on top of him. Both were a little tired due to the chase that the dragon and the broccoli did. Ryuko. What the hell is wrong with you? Why did you run away from me? He said something between gasps, ignoring the fact that they were in a very compromising position. But noticing how he looked away. Ryuko. Why don't you look at me? He said with some sadness, it seemed to hurt him and even more so coming from that kind boy. Izuku. You're bust, Ryuko-chan. He said now red as a tomato and when the blonde looked down at her breasts. She could tell that her bra was very close to the boy's face. Now it was her turn to be red with embarrassment. A few seconds later. Ryuko. I'm sorry about that, I just wanted to talk to you before I go to sleep. Izuku. I'm sorry too Ryuko-chan, I didn't mean to see you know. Ryuko. Please forget about that. Remaining in a somewhat awkward silence again. But this time she was bolder and grabbed the green-haired man's face so he could look into her eyes. Even though his face was embarrassed. Izuku. Huh. Ryuko-chan, what are you going to? He couldn't finish as he was kissed by the dragon, opening his eyes in surprise, but he could notice how the blonde was the same as him. Very red and somewhat tense from this action. But for this occasion, Izuku, with some courage, continued the kiss and gently placed his hands on top of the woman's palm and the other on her cheek. The kiss lasted 15 seconds and they both broke away to look into each other's eyes. Noticing how very red the two of them were from this. Izuku. Is this what you wanted? He said while unconsciously stroking the dragon's cheek with his thumb. Ryuko. Well, it's that I wanted. Izuku. Kiss me, is it because of Kaina-sen's hickey? Now it was the dragon's turn to be the bag of nerves, since her face said it all. Ryuko. Kaina was overshadowing you, I want some attention too. She said with a pout, which with her blush made her look adorable. Izuku's mind. It resembles one of the plushies that Izumi has of her. Hug the boy and say something nice to him. The green-haired man could hear that it was the voice of the lullaby, suggesting that he do that action. He listened and gave a hug to the woman who had not expected that action. Izuku. Ryuko-chan, I don't have favorites and I don't like to play with people's feelings, I love all three of them equally. Izuku's mind. Although Mirko-san gets a minus for certain things. Izuku. I even like spending this time with you. Now it was he who kissed Ryuko, a kiss that only transmitted love and tranquility on this occasion. She gladly accepted the kiss and put her hands around his neck. When they separated they looked into each other's eyes with a smile. Ryuko. You don't mind if I accompany you to sleep? Izuku. Of course, no problem. The next morning. Knock knock. Izuku's door had been knocked on the other side. Hey Izuku, are you inside? It was Kaina who was on the other side of the door, it seemed strange to her that she saw the green-haired man leave before her. So I decided to go to his room to see if he was there. Kaina. Izuku. I'm spoiled. That was the response I got from the sleepy-sounding green-haired man. Kaina. You'll be late for school. Mirko. I'd let him rest if I were you. The rabbit heroine said with a playful smile, confusing the purple-haired girl a little with that smile. Since I knew that Mirko was just smiling because a fight was about to start or that he knew something interesting, but he wasn't going to tell. Kaina. What do you mean by that? Mirko. Haha. Heading to the kitchen to get some breakfast, being followed by the purple-haired girl. Inside the room. We can see how the green-haired man was just getting up due to the voices of both of them outside. Although when he began to open his eyes and focus his gaze, the first thing he saw was Ryuko's face. Which was still somewhat asleep but very close to him. Izuku. What happened last night? He said turning into a tomato, he didn't want to think that he did it and doesn't remember it. What have you done, boy, you were champions last night. The Dogoro who was quickly heard being hit by Nana said with a laugh before cutting the connection. Ryuko. Good morning. The dragon spoke and stood up and kissed Izuku, smiling and laughing a little when she saw his face. Ryuko. You were very sweet last night. Izuku. What do you mean by that? Ryuko. Don't you remember? You're bad, was I really good? Turning away with a fake sadness, but in truth he was holding back his laughter. Izuku. And then it's not me. I didn't know how to respond to the statement, then I was no longer a virgin. Now I was racking my brains with several questions. Did he do it right? Don't I enjoy it or do I? That and more until I heard the blonde couldn't take it anymore and started to leave. Ryuko. Calm down, we didn't do anything, just a few kisses and hugs. Izuku. That's better, I think. Ryuko. But if we had done it. Taking the boy and looking into his eyes with a provocative expression. Ryuko. I would make sure that you never forget a moment with me, so for now, make sure you keep your chastity until your birthday. Giving her one last kiss on her forehead and heading for the door, giving her a good view of her rear before leaving. Izuku. I better get ready now. That was the only thing he said before he went to get his uniform while he processed everything that had just happened. Izuku's mind. First Kaina-san and now Ryuko, please don't let the same thing happen to Rumi-san, she's the only one who assures me that my waist won't be the same again. Outside the room. Kaina. Where do you think you're going? The purple-haired girl said, pointing a spoon at the blonde who was discovered by her friends leaving Izuku's room. Ryuko. Hey, I have an explanation for this. Seeing how the purple-haired girl had a look that made her anger clear. Not long ago she was the one who complained about what happened to him because of the hickey, and now who knows what she did with Izuku inside. Rumi. Haha, I hope it's good. Laughing and seeing the funny side of this whole situation. Change of scene. Now we can see how the green-haired man was at the academy. After managing to get out of his home alive after the argument between Kaina and Ryuko. And just one look at Rumi's playful smile, she was now safe at the academy. Or so I thought. Now he was watching how a blonde from Class B was bothering him and his friends while they were eating. He already knew him, unfortunately. He was Monoma of Class B, not just yesterday he dared to hit him in the cafeteria and mock him for fighting the hero killer. Now they were in the field, Shoto looked like he was going to explode at any moment and he was the most calm of all. Izuku. Listen carefully Monoma, you better go. Monoma. What? You're going to fight with useless pleasure. Izuku. Don't complain if you end up worse than Bakugo. Being surrounded by lightning, scaring his companions a little since they knew that making Izuku angry was not a good idea. The sports festival was a demonstration of what happens if it happens. And the whole UA seemed to get the message, but it seems that not everyone understood it. Before Uraraka, Izumi or Lita stop Izuku, someone was faster. Monoma was knocked out this time with a powerful blow to the head with a large fist. It was Kendo who had come to save Monoma from a certain beating. Kendo. I am very sorry for my partner's behavior, I hope you forgive me. Izumi. Thank goodness you arrived on time. He said to see how Izuku stopped using his quirk. The green-haired man could notice that Monoma was still conscious. Izuku. You should be ashamed that your president comes to solve the messes you get into, why don't you learn something from her, aren't you the vice president of your class? He said angrily, he knew that attacking him physically would not help, but his other best weapon did, words. Izuku. You leave all the work to her, and on top of that she has to come save you, you really are a disgraceful man, I feel more sorry for her than for you. Now the cheap copy of Justin Bieber had no words to say in his defense. The green-haired man had shot him with a burst of cruel reality. Izuku. I'm so sorry you have to come here and all this Kendo-san. Kendo. I appreciate the concern, especially when you didn't use violence. Shoto's mind. She says she threw the first punch. Kendo. I'm sorry to interrupt your study session for the exams, I hope you can come in. Lita. Thank you for your good intentions Kendo-san, if you would like you can join us to study. Kendo. I don't think it's necessary. Uraraka. Oh come on, you're also one of the smartest, we could use some help. Izumi. Maybe this way I can understand you, Lita-san and Oni-chan give me a jacket. Izuku. Leaving aside the fact that my sister is a brute, we would like to have you to study, you would be very helpful, at least if you can't we will understand, after all you are the president of your class. Kendo now didn't know what to say, she was happy to be flattered for her academic skills. Kendo. Of course, they don't mind if I bring some friends, they're also a bit rough. If another one with green hair comes along, I'll laugh my ass off. Uraraka said laughing and preventing Izumi from grabbing her hair for that insult. Izuku. Okay, we'll see you tomorrow. Smiling as usual in her Yuke form, giving Uraraka a diabetic attack who was at Izumi's mercy, who was trying to choke her. But without knowing that Kendo had a heart attack that turned red. Kendo. Boo be well, we're leaving tomorrow. He said to leave the place so they wouldn't see his blush, especially Amonoma who was being dragged. But the heroines. Kaina. Are you sure nothing else is happening? He said, looking with an annoyed look at the dragon who was on her computer, with a calmness that was scary. Ryuko. Since I told you at home no. Mirko. Stop fighting, you better not leave the brat alone until the exams are over. Now both women couldn't believe it, the most violent woman in all of Japan and among the heroes, was worried about the studies of the boy she almost kicked to death. Mirko. What, did I say carrots in the face or what? Ryuko. It's surprising how concerned you are about studying when you're one of the worst students of our generation. Rumi. Oh come on, it wasn't that bad. Kinda. Rumi, you tried to bribe the math sensei to pass second year. Rumi. Well, just once. Ryuko. Or when you try to skip history class but get caught. Rumi. Well bud. Kinda. Or when you fell asleep in English class because you were reading your Yao novel at night. Ryuko. Oh when that time. Rumi. Well, not anymore. I'm only worried about the boy since you two are crazy after him, at least I know how to control myself. Ryuko's mind. That's what she says, only when we are careless will she say otherwise. She was grateful that now her whole sleeping with Izuku thing was in the background. Kinda. Okay, this week we promise not to overdo it until she's free from her exams. At that moment the three of their phones rang, seeing that it was the group that they and Izuku made to stay in touch. Don't wait for me for dinner tonight, I'll be at my sister's house to help her study, take care, I love you S. Rumi. See what I'm saying. Ryuko. Okay you win. Kinda. I just hope she's okay, well, let's finish this paperwork to go on patrol. But cilantro and parsley. Izumi. I'm glad you're joining us, Shinso. Seeing how the green-haired boy was next to his brother, he seemed to be happier than usual. Shoto. Why are you so happy? Shinso. They told me I have a chance to get into the hero class. They told me they'll give me a separate test after the exams. Izuku. I hope you've been training like I told you. Shinso. Don't be like that, my body was hurting a few days before the festival, you expect me to have the body you have. Shoto. Well, do you want to order pizza while we study? Shinso Izuku Izumi. Yes. End of chapter. Chapter 18. What am I what? Chapter 18. The new day began once again in the land of the rising sun. The birds sing and the flowers bloom. And we can see how in the room of our green-haired Yuke. He was waking up but feeling something against his face, it was something soft that hit his cheek and it smelled good. Izuku. Meat buns. He thought that was what was hitting him until those buns reached his nose, he raised his hand to remove them. Ah. The moan made her open her eyes suddenly and when she managed to get a signal. He could see that those buns were breasts and they were Kina's breasts. Causing him to move away a little, but he felt like something didn't let him escape, it being the purple-haired girl's arms that had him trapped. And when he looked up, he found Kina smiling mockingly. Kina. Izu, you're a pervert. Smiling as he watched a green-haired man blush and let out humor from his ears. Izuku. When did you get here? I asked somewhat confused and embarrassed, since as I remembered. When I returned home at night, everyone was asleep. Or so I assumed. Mini flashback. We can see how the green-haired boy arrived at his sweet home at 11 at night. After eating a lot of pizza, helping his brother and friend study, he became very exhausted. He was grateful that I had warned him that I would be late since he noticed that there was no one there. Everything was off, except for Rumi and Ryuko's truck driver snoring, telling her she had nothing to worry about. Taking off his shoes carefully so as not to make so much noise that he would wake his wives. Izuku's mind. Ugh, there are still a few days left until the exams and I still have to study on my own. Putting her classic red shoes aside and heading towards her room. To go to the world of dreams and feel the warmth of your sheets. Although of course, someone who was leaving the bathroom saw him enter his room. Kinda. Haha. Laughing a little as he came up with an idea he would enjoy. Izuku once entered his room, he didn't even bother to take off his uniform, just his coat and lay down on the bed, covering himself with his sheets and surrendering to Morpheus's arms. The door had been opened very carefully, revealing how Kina entered very stealthily. Turning around to get into bed and cover himself with the sheets. Kina. Sleep well, cute bunny, haha. Kissing Yuke's cheek, who smiled unconsciously, being hugged by the purple-haired girl. End of the mini flashback. Kina. The advantages of being a spy heroine like me is stealth, you will soon learn it, you should have the example of Eraserhead. Izuku's mind. It takes me, I always forget that sensei can do that from time to time. But he couldn't continue thinking about it when he was caught between the breasts of the sniper heroine. Kina. Just a little more. Izuku's mind. I'm going to faint. I say this as I feel the woman's two cheeks, who was just laughing. But she just pulled away and kissed the boy on the lips. Kina. Very well, I know you need to go to the academy, so that's why I'm just letting you go, but first. In. The quick movement, Kina kissed the green-haired boy again, putting him on top of her. Izuku. Kina-san, someone could come. He said as he broke away from the kiss, but was left speechless when he saw exactly the woman beneath him. Kina. Do you like what you see? She said with a sensual smile, highlighting her bust that was covered by her short shirt. Izuku's mind. "Aw, stupid and sensual kinda, calm down Izuku, think about the Bible." His eyes had betrayed him, since having a woman like Kaina in those situations was impossible for him. "Kaina. Calm down Tiger, it's still too early for that, but if you pass your exams, maybe I can give you an advance." "Izuku? What does that mean?" "Kaina. Haha." Change of scene. We can see how the green-haired man said goodbye with a hug to Ryuko, who had just woken up. After being solved his manliness problem that Kaina caused him. He was lucky he didn't have to meet Ryuko or Rumi for them to see him that way. Ryuko. "See you Izuku, good luck at the academy." "Izuku. You too, I promise that next time I'll leave you a dragon-shaped lunch." Ryuko. "See you soon." Giving him a kiss on his forehead and watching the green-haired man walk away. Ryuko's